Big leagues, I guess, you know? Steven, why didn't you bring Jack with you? Why didn't you pack him up in your trunk and drive him down with you? Feel like that's a missed opportunity, right?
Need a big trunk.
It is going to have to be a big
man,
trunk.
yeah.
He's a big man, yes. It
Get
would
a
weigh it
Sprinter
down.
van, a Sprinter van.
It's fine.
And you blindfold him. Say we're going to go.
Ooh, that's right.
We're going to go see.
Yeah, like in old school. You just go and
Yes.
kidnap him and throw him into a van. Like, it's like, hey, you're now a pledge for the Royals.
I don't know if Steven and Bethany
You're
could
my boy,
physically
Blue.
lift that guy. Yes, you haze him. You get the ropes and the sewer
Kegs!
plates.
Do you believe I have provided you enough rope for your brick to hit the ground safely? Kegs, do you believe that I do not want to see you injured tonight? You're my boy, Kegs. You're my boy. That didn't happen, though. He just stayed there. He just stayed in Omaha, and Steven and Bethany come back. Like, it just feels like a wasted trip, you know?
A lot of KY jelly, too.
Okay.
What?
913-912-4810
The
is
pool.
the text line. If you want to be a part of the show, part of the
pool
conversation, and change it, 913-912-4810. We'll talk with Adam Teicher coming up an hour from now, usually on a Tuesday, but we'll talk to him today. OTAs going on for the Chiefs yesterday, today, tomorrow. We'll hear from the Kansas City Chiefs tomorrow around 1 o'clock or so as they wrap up this week's OTAs, another week of OTAs, and then the mandatory mini camp, and then the break until you get to training camp. So phase 3 rolling, which gives them on-field workouts. You can do individual and team. Now, you cannot do offense versus defense. That is specific. That is not allowed. What you can do, though, is you can line up your entire starting offense and line up against other players on the offense that would be mimicking the defense. And the defense, you can line up your entire starting defense while having other players on the defense line up mimicking an offense. That's what you're allowed to do. But if you do run a play, it must be at walkthrough speed only. There is no contact. Okay? Those are the rules. And we have all agreed to play by these rules. But at least, and I'll talk to Teicher about this, see what he thinks. At least there will be some. I believe you can glean something. And that is what we're going to be wondering about what the rotation looks like. You know, is Kingsley taking every rep with the first team? Is Norzad getting any reps with the guards? You know, I'd love to know that.
Caliendo.
What's Caliendo doing? What about Hansen? You know, he's an incredible athlete, and reason why they, took him is because he was, the 28th guard out of all guards at RAS score dating back to 1984. He was the 28th most athletic. He had a 9.9 out of 10 athletic score. You take him, you draft him late, you try to develop him. Okay, now he's had a full season in the system and an off season. All right, you're not going to see what he looks like, but do they feel like, he's got a chance to play? Is he in the rotation? Is McDuffie only lining up in the slot? Is it Fulton and Watson? Is Noel Williams getting reps with the second team early on? What are those? Is Rashee Rice, fully healthy? Is Kelsey thinner than he looked last year? I think there are some things to glean from this. I don't know how much Simmons will run with the first team because of probably, the injury and things like that. But if it's walkthroughs only, is he getting some reps and running some plays and doing some of those with the first team at left tackle, along with Jalen Moore? What's he looking like? I think there are some things to glean. How much is Jalen Royals involved with the first team, second team, things like that?
Yeah, does Gardner Minshew wear jorts? Does
That's
he
exactly
have
right.
a mullet and a mustache?
100%. Has he gone from mullet to rat tail? I mean, that's the next, evolution of going through.
You can't do that without a year of living here, service time.
Gardner can do whatever he wants.
Well, that's
if he
true.
can win one game in the preseason, I'm all for it.
If there was a player in the NFL that had a mullet and then switched the mullet to a rat tail just to go full 80/evolution to then going to the no mullet, it would be Minshew, right? He would be the one that would do it, and it would be like, yeah, okay. So Minshew has a rat tail? Oh, okay. Yeah. Anyway, is it going to be cold tomorrow? When's it going to rain again? I said Gardner has a rat tail. Yeah, I know, and I'm wondering, have we really discussed how much we think Kelsey can improve this year?
I will say the actual thing I'd be interested in as well the rat tail. The safeties. How did the safeties line
that's
up
a good
with
point, yeah.
no longer Justin Reed? I think we all assume was Jaden Hicks, but still Brian Cook, Shamari Connor should be back in the mix now
Right.
because
It's a good call.
I don't think we expect Shamari to be in the slot anymore. Which
It
I
would be
think is
wondering
good.
if it would be a good point if Connor is lining up in the slot.
Yeah,
or is
so-
he just strictly safety? It's a good point.
So I think there's some secondary things that for me I'd probably take a look at here.
Yeah, well, secondary is primary. The earth is covered by 92% of water. The other part of it is covered by the secondary.
It's actually covered by Lorenzo Kane, but
That's true, too.
yeah.
That man could cover some ground, man. That man could cover some ground.
That's one of the all-time postseason baseball signs. Was someone in the crowd at Kaufman had wrote what is it? How much is covered by
I just
water?
made up 92%. I don't know.
The other's covered by Lorenzo Kane.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
a great sign.
Brilliant, man. It's like every high school secondary shirt, secondary is primary.
That's another good one.
No fly zone. Things like that. Man, this team could use Lorenzo Kane. I mean, specifically his offense.
Could use Kendrys Morales.
Could they use them right now? Like literally their ability right now?
The answer is no
I
because
don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to quickly go no. I'm not going to specifically just jump out there and say no.
I did see Haas and
a good
Gordon
point. That's a
strike
good
out
point.
against about 85-mile-an-hour fastballs.
It's a good point, and they were behind it, right? They were a little late on that
They're
against
pretty
the
pretty
Savannah
late.
Bananas.
Pretty
They
late.
should be here this weekend too for Moose. So
Yeah, that's
might
right.
as well give him an offer.
Hey,
against the
Moosley's made
Tigers.
contact. He grounded
Yeah.
out to second.
Yeah.
I'll give him that.
And you know what? It's the Tigers. Bring out everything you can to try to gain some games because right now they are 7 games behind the Tigers right now. And before they went on their crazy streak of 17-4, when they had salvaged that last game against the Tigers with Skubal on the mound, remember we were talking about good night, man. They saved themselves only 4.5 out. If you lose that game, you could have been 6.5 games out from the Tigers. And then they go on a 17-4 run. The Tigers are so damn good, and they keep freaking winning, that even through that stretch, and yes, they're 5-11 since having that 7-game winning streak, but they're now 7 games out. They're now more games out than they would have been had they lost that game against Skubal at the time when we were thinking disaster head-to-head. And this weekend is such – I know today matters. It's a fun pitching matchup, Noah Cameron and Hunter Green. Noah Cameron that's going to be more crafty. Hunter Green that's going to throw it 101 and throw it by you. He's not from L.A., but he's got that bayou in him, right? And also this could be the last start for – I think this would be, right, the last start for Noah Cameron before a decision has to be made by the front office. Because if we expect Lugo to be back – well, they said Cole Reagans may get it. Cole Reagans is going to need a – but he might need a rehab start. So Cameron – if Reagans needs a rehab start, may have one more start, maybe against St. Louis next week. Could be his last one before they then have to really make a decision on, do we go a 6-man rotation? Is Cameron sent to Omaha to keep his every 5 days ready to go in case somebody gets hurt? If this team is really, truly trying to contend, and if Cameron goes out there and pitches another gym today and seeing what he does against St. Louis, like he's got a couple of more starts, how do you take that guy out of the rotation and keep Lorenzen in? Like, those are real questions. Like, do you move Lorenzen into the bullpen and be a longer relief guy? Okay, well, if somebody gets hurt, well, is Lorenzen stretched out enough to then he can go back into the rotation? Like, these are the decisions that the front office has to make. Is it more worthwhile to keep Cameron on every 5 days and stretched out in the minors in case of an injury while throwing Lorenzen, but feeling like Lorenzen may give you a lesser chance on that particular night than Noah Cameron, depending on the next couple of starts? These are the questions they have to make. What's best for the big league club right now? What could be best for the big league club over the last 2/3 of the season in the long haul? And again, he's got 2 more starts to prove that he would be worthy of staying, that it isn't just an amazing 3 games that he has started and now they got the book on him. And also, like, tonight's going to be a good test.
Yeah.
Because a week ago we would have said, I mean, if he goes out there and throws BBs against the Reds, does it really matter? Are we really taking anything away from that performance against a really bad, struggling offense? Well, this Reds team has turned it around offensively. And it's not just the last couple of nights against the Royals. They've had a number of games in a row where they've scored 6 or 7 runs. Up and down the lineup, the guys are getting hits. It's not just Ellie De La Cruz hitting, 2 massive shots every night. hitting one 450 into the upper tank of the fountains and hitting one so far and low that at, what was it measured, 430?
Mm-hmm.
It would not have been a home run in Arizona because the center field wall is too high in Arizona.
Oh, the one in the fourth inning, the
line drive,
first one, yeah.
It would have hit the wall in Arizona while it landed 430 at Kauffman. Like, that's how it was, like a 17-degree launch angle.
436.
436 would not have been a home run at Arizona because the wall is too high. He might have hurt somebody. Like, honestly, I thought, and this is where just, next level power guys like Dela Cruz and Bobby Witt, when he's on, has that. Is that going to be a fly ball? Okay, that's in the fountains. All right, that was odd. I thought that was going to be a line drive to Isbell. I thought that was going to be a line drive where the camera flips and Isbell takes 3 steps back and it flies into his glove. And it's just, oh, man, if he got under that a little bit, that could have been 450 feet. But it just kept going and going and going. And then when it bounces to the freaking batter's eye, didn't just skim the wall. I mean, good God. And then the second one was just, how far is it going to go?
That one was a no-doubter.
That one. Because when he swung, he just stopped and stared at it.
Remember the truck that used to be out there?
That was left center.
That was
right?
left center. If you move that to right center, that was hitting a truck.
I think
that
was
about 450.
I think Dean Palmer almost hit it when he hit it like 90% up the hill before they had the seats in the outfield. Dean, when it was just the grassy knoll.
It was a grassy knoll and a truck.
and
2, I believe.
Yeah, I think Palmer hit it like to almost the top of the hill. It was one of the more massive shots that we've seen at Kauffman Stadium. But tonight is an interesting one. And it's a big one. Every game the rest of the way, obviously, is going to be big for the Royals because they're no longer in the playoffs. They're a full game out of the Astros, who are starting to hit. I mean, Altuve went 4 for 5, had 2 home runs last night. Christian Walker finally got a home run for the Astros, and he has been brutal for them coming over from Arizona with that, the Crawford box Christian Walker is going to eat there at Houston at the Crawford box.
Isaac Paredes has been really good.
Yes.
He's been great after a slow start. Jose Altuve, though,
Hunter Brown's in the Cy Young conversation.
That this is back-to-back, or 2 in the last week of 2-run home run games for Jose Altuve, who
and Pena's been good.
He was horrible.
Yeah,
horrible to start the season. I know he's on my fantasy baseball team, and he's been really turning it on all of a sudden, where it went from this is the guy that we have seen for a while. So the Royals need to get it going. I want to get your guys' thoughts last night, particularly with the bats, because I see too, my frustration is palpable. But last night was the first game in a while where I actually felt like the Royals hit the ball fairly well and didn't get results. I've been very frustrated with they're actually hitting it well, but, what can you do? No, last night there was about 7 balls. It was like 7 balls that they had a expected batting average like 500 or above, and like all of them were outs. I mean, Drew Waters had that one that was 104 exit velo to left center. Again, that's the frustration. They're playing at the K. It didn't matter for Ellie or Tyler Stevenson, but when you go to left center,
it's a home rard in so many parks for Drew Waters. There,
it's a great swing. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at Massey, who actually put together a decent game.
Right.
John Rave hit a hard ball in the ground that was just.
Vinny hit the ball hard.
Bobby had one into the out.
Vinny's was 114.
The hardest hit ball of his entire career was an out.
Yep.
I'm not trying to make excuses, but last night I felt
it should be a half hit. Like, you should get to stand halfway to first. And if the next guy gets a hit, then you get to go to second. That should be the rule. If you hit it 110 or faster exit velocity and it's an out, you get to stand halfway to first.
So I'm not trying to make excuses for a team that, again, when we talk about slugging, 0 extra base hits and 8 hits last night, 0 and 8 hits.
They put 4 singles together. They had to, with 2 outs, they had to hit 4 guys in a row get a hit for them to score a couple of runs, and they were all singles.
But instead of just being completely
a bunch of punch and
negative, I did feel like maybe they were starting to turn a corner. I mean, Bobby went over, Vinny went over, but hit the ball hard, and Vinny's been turning it around. Drew did his thing. Massey's quietly put together a nice little stretch, which I've been very harsh on Massey.
Hopefully that can carry over. But good God, how often have we wondered, that hit, the home run in Baltimore, the home run in Houston, maybe he'll start carrying over for him. That was also against a guy in the month of May that has like a 9 ERA in Singer. That started off pretty hot, but he's got like an 8.7 ERA in the month of May. and the Royals know him. He knows the Royals, but I think that should be advantage hitter. They know how his stuff moves.
Yeah,
it's like, well, I know there's a hole in Bobby Witt's swing. Really, where? And I can work this way to Vinny. Cool, and Vinny knows that's how you're going to work him.
Try and hit that spot.
Yeah, right.
Every time in an actual game. Yeah,
the hitters, in my opinion, should have the advantage when you're around a guy and you're in the field behind him and Salvi catching him. You know exactly how his stuff moves, where it ends up, the release point. You've gone up against him in spring training from time to time in simulated games, but that wasn't the case. They hit the ball hard. It didn't fall in. There's some factors that there's some luck that didn't go their way. But it was also against a guy who was really struggling in Brady Singer, who had been hit around, and he was able to get a little healthy against the Royals.
And it was also 7-2.
Yeah.
It was the most Brady Singer start that we could ever see, right? When he pitched well, where you feel very fortunate to get through 6 or 7. And I thought it was very Terry Francona. He's such a great manager in the game that he left him in there to face Bobby Witt Jr., whether it was going to work out or not. And I believe that if he wasn't facing the Royals and it was a different hitter, the star hitter of that team, he's coming out of the game. That was Terry Francona going, this is your chance to shove it against your former team.
What was the score at that time, too?
3-2.
3-2, okay.
And Bobby Witt Jr. was the go-ahead run at the plate. He was 0 for, and he was at 95 pitches.
Was that the one he ripped to right field?
Left field.
Left field, yeah.
It was 103.
Okay.
Well before the warning track.
Yeah, when he hit it, I'm like, it didn't sound good.
No.
But how many times has a hit by Bobby not sounded pure?
Yeah.
103 exit velo didn't sound good.
He didn't get all of it.
Right. I know. It's not July. So maybe in July that's a home run because he gets stupid hot in July.
To your point, Sterling, and I understand the frustration of fans that don't want to hear, I don't care how hard they hit the ball. I don't care about the expected batting average. I go back to if you were playing at any level in baseball, if you were playing Little League, you were playing high school or college, if you hit a ball on the screws, you absolutely tagged it, and it finds a glove, what's said to you coming back to the dugout?
Did your job, man.
Did your job. Nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
The other team makes plays.
Stay with what you're doing. Do not go away from that because you lined out to first base at 114, right? Or if Bobby hits 103, he got under a little bit, still good contact. It's frustrating to hear when your offense isn't scoring runs, and the Royals absolutely have to get better in that aspect. And I would say that last night has been a little bit of the outlier because there's been many games they have not hit the ball hard, and they put together 1 or 2 runs. Jonathan India, his 2 hits last night, 108 and 107.
Yep.
His ground out yesterday in the first at bat, 107. So when you come
His
back
hit yesterday was like 72.
it was a pop-up. A pop-up against the
Not
shift.
yesterday, but the day before, I should say.
And that's where, if you're Alex Zuma or you're looking for blame somewhere, especially last night, the offense got you 2 runs. That's what we all focus on. But if you have 8 or 9 balls that you hit over 100 miles an hour, guess what? It does matter if you hit the ball hard because baseball will always tell you if you are hitting the ball hard, eventually it's going to find the grass. Eventually it's going to get to the wall unless you beat the ball into the ground all the time, and it's a grounder over to second base. We saw that with Ryan O'Hearn, MJ Melendez. You hit the ball really hard, but it's in the same spot every single time. You can tell with the good hitters, with Bobby Witt Jr., with Vinny, with hopefully Jonathan India, hopefully with Salvador Perez, that when they're hitting the ball hard, they may go 0 for 4, but that can be a sign of eventually things are going to turn around. If they were scoring 1 to 2 runs every single night, and last night against Brady Singer of all guys, they didn't hit more than 2 balls over 100, you're starting to wonder, what can you truly do? But last night, I felt that Brady Singer was very fortunate to get through 7. There were a lot of balls that found the glove.
So true about a very Brady Singer-esque night last night.
And the way baseball works, it wouldn't surprise me if they get 4 or 5 off Hunter Green with 1 ball that goes over 100. It's just the way it works.
It's the Reds' best pitcher. So, of course, the Royals are going to put together 5 runs somehow tonight.
Yeah, that was more or less, though. I'm glad you brought that up because we can harp, and we have harped on the offense all season long. But I just feel like last night, I don't want to beat a dead horse when I actually felt like there were some, it's hilarious to say with the offense as bad as it is, they scored 2 runs, some slight positives to take away. And you're right, again, that was the most Brady start of all time.
The 4 hits too, and the maybe the most frustrating part about last night is they're hitting Brady Singer well in the second inning. They get 2 runs.
Yep.
You don't have him on the ropes, but the fact that for the rest of that game you couldn't do anything close to that, even with the bad luck, You're telling me you couldn't work a walk. You're telling me you couldn't just put together a bit of a rally. And I go back to the fact that their inability to hit the ball out of the ballpark is detrimental to this offense. We saw the Reds with 2 swings and 1 player tie the game and take the lead. And when they're down 3-2 in the 6th and 7th inning before it unraveled in the 8th, all you needed was 1 swing to make you feel better about the spot. But you go back to the 2nd inning, it took 4 hits to get 2 runs. That's the way they're going right now. It takes 4 or 5 guys to drive in runs
4
instead
singles
of 1 guy
with 2 outs.
putting a charge into 1, and all of a sudden it's tied up.
We talked about this a lot yesterday with the issue being it's not just runners in scoring position, which, again, has been bad. The Royals, at least yesterday, were, what did I say, 14th in Major League Baseball in batting average? 14th?
Yeah.
And they were 26th in OPS. You know how hard that is to be 26th in OPS while 14th in batting average when you're playing? The teams lower are the White Sox, the Rockies, the Pirates, and I want to say, was it the Orioles maybe? Or whoever it was another team that was just very inept hitting-wise. The Royals get no extra base hits. It's not batting average necessarily. It's they get no extra base hits, and we're perpetually saying you have to get 2, 3, 4 hits. And, of course, then runners in the scoring position because the odds of doing that without getting any outs in between is brutal. It's been a frustration, a culmination, and it's not like there's anyone in the minors that has any power. There's not like there's a guy sitting down there who's left-handed who hit 5 home runs in 4 games. There's not like there's just sitting there for you.
We'll take a break, but let me. Well, yes, I know we can talk about that a little bit. I do have a question and a percentage breakdown of that. As we go to break, according to Baseball Savant and the Statcast, the top 20 hardest hit baseballs last night. Royals lose 7-2. The top 20 hardest hit baseballs. How many were by the Royals? How many were by the Reds? Of the top 20.
13 by the Royals.
Jack, top 20 hardest hit baseballs last night. Now, mind you, Ellie had one at 112 and one at 111, and Austin Hayes had one at 109. And
Stevenson had to have one, too.
Stevenson had 106.
I'll go 2 up. I'll say 15.
15? Dylan? 15 by the Royals? Or 15 of the 20 by the Royals?
Yeah, I'll go 16.
It's you guys right around it. Nobody hit it. It's 14. 14 of the 20 hardest hit baseballs last night were by the Royals. And of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 baseballs were hit 100 miles an hour or more. And the Royals had 12 of the 17, 100 miles an hour or more. That resulted in an out, a single, a single, a single, an out, a single, a single, an out, a single.
Was that Zumwalt for launch angle? Is that?
I mean, that's the launch angle was on those were 7, 8, 9, -4 India, 5, 32 Drew Waters, 37 Bobby Witt at 103, -5 Isbell, 13 Salvi on the single, 42 Rave on the flyout, 44 for Waters, 15 for Massey. That's the launch. I mean, but, you know, Ellie De La Cruz's home run was 25 and 22. Austin Hayes was 16. Trevino's was 13. Stevenson's was 26. You know, sort of line drives, sort of barreling those things up, not pup-ups or grounders.
Yeah, I think when you say 0, I think people think that's a line drive. No, that's not a line drive necessarily. You want it to be around
I'd say anywhere from 15 to 25, 26, 27, something like that.
Once you get more than 33, 34, it really starts to – those are more –
Yeah, Drew Waters
the 32 degree was traditionally about perfect for a home run with that extra.
Yeah, that was the left center.
Yeah, that was just
that was the one. Drew Waters, the left center, was 32 degrees. That was, it's a home run in so many different parks. In Baltimore, that's a home run. Cincinnati, that's a home run.
I bet 25 ballparks.
Yeah, it's a rough one there at Kauffman. Although I saw the craziest ballpark last night, that Morehead State has a ballpark that's like a. Have you seen this?
If it's the same one,
it's so random. Right field line is 310. The alley in right center is 305. Left center is 409. It's like a bean It just from right field to left center, it's just this two walls, and then it sort of jets out at center field and wraps around to left field.
And then like
But right center is 305.
left center is like 450.
Yeah, it's like 450 in left center. It's so stupid. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Think about this for a second. Percentage breakdown with Jack Caglione. Percentage breakdown of when we talk about him coming up or being ready or whatever. What's the percentage when we talk about that that's best for him? And what's the percentage that we talk about that we're viewing it from the standpoint of best for the club? We'll talk about that coming up next. So what do you guys think? Jack Caglione. We talked, obviously it's been a huge conversation of, is he ready to come up? Certainly people want him in the big leagues. And there are some that are like, you know what, not yet. I don't want him to be ruined, or, you take the cake out of the oven too early and then, you can't really put it back in and get the same sort of taste that you would have if you would have just left it in there at that time. But also you can overbake it and just be like, what are you doing? It's ready to go. What percentage for you guys do you think, while we talk about, if you are on the on board of saying, hey, I think it's ready, we should probably think about bringing Jack Caglione up. Not necessarily today, but I don't know, next couple of weeks. Like I said, June 24th, but I think there's a serious consideration that it might be earlier than that. So I'll give you mine. Where I'm at in a, scale of 0 to 100, so they both have to equal 100%. What's best for him, I'm like 60% that I think that he is ready to go for the most part. It's not 100%, because if it was 100%, like I think he'd be up. If the Royals thought he's 100% ready to go, he'll be up. Best for the club, I'm at 40% breakdown. Now, it's obviously 100% best for the club if Jack Caglione were on the team. He makes the team better. That is a 100% fact. I don't care what anybody has to say. You could say it's an opinion. That's a fact, Jack. J-A-C or J-A-C-K or Sterling or Dylan. So I'm at 60-40. That out of a 100% breakdown of how I look at it and say, me wanting Jack Caglione to come up, what's the breakdown of view of, is it best for him, or am I just looking strictly through the Royals sunglasses of this offense sucks, who's the help? It's Jack Caglione. I'm going 60-40, best for him. 40% is looking at it through the lens of the club needs help.
It's cookie dough. You can eat cookie dough raw.
You can.
And you can then put it back in. As long as I don't get salmonella, I'm okay.
Well, yeah, but Jackson Kohar apparently got salmonella.
He apparently did. But people keep bringing up Jackson Kohar instead of, again, realizing
instead of Noah
Zach
Cameron?
Greinke or
why don't
Alex Gordon.
Why don't we bring up Noah Cameron?
Or Noah Cameron. But, like, my point is, even if he struggles and needs to go back down, if he's going to figure it out, he's going to figure it out. It's not like all of a sudden he gets called up too early, he gets overmatched, and he's like, nope, I can't play baseball ever again. I'm done. Yes, there are certain players that have had very big mental issues playing the game. Asa Lacy. And that wasn't even the majors. That was just in general.
That was injuries, too. Like, he couldn't get over the injury bug.
But like,
Ankill's the most famous
Ankeel,
one.
Chuck Knobloch.
Not being able to throw.
John Lester trying to throw to first. Yes.
That's what I was going to say, too. Lester to first.
If that's the case, then sure. Then maybe he can't. But how many guys have came up, and then had to get sent back down, figured it out, and then all of a sudden they figured it out back when they got called up again?
So what's your percentage breakdown?
80-20.
80-20 best for Cags, 20% looking at it through the prism of the Royals?
I do think that it's good for Cags to get called up, too, because that way, even if he does struggle, then he can get sent back down and he can figure it out and he knows what to work on. I know last night was not the best game as an example to say, call up Cags right now, but still, this is the team that needs slugging. He can slug. Call up the slugger. Not the mascot.
Slugger's already there.
Although maybe the mascot has better slugging than the rest of the team.
It's in his name. It should be. It's not. I don't think it's an ironic nickname.
You know what? Call him Singles. I'm calling Slugger Singles from now on.
That's right. It would be more appropriate.
There were a few things I found interesting from yesterday's media availability in Omaha, and I'm blanking on who posted this, but he was asked about getting called up, when that may be, and he said along the lines or something along the lines of, JJ Picollo, they've been very communicative with me, said when they expect it to be, and I just got to focus on what I'm doing right now. So that would tell me they have some date in place, and whether he's hitting 250, 260, or maybe 330, that's like the target date there. Things can always change, of course. You don't have to stick to that. But I believe that if the Royals are telling him a certain date, right, you got to be ready by, let's say, June 24th, or maybe it's July something, or maybe it's the second half. That, to me, means that they are very close to making that call that he would be ready for the big leagues. And the confidence thing, I don't believe that really applies to him. He is a confident guy. Yes, he's always succeeded wherever he's been. Florida, the lower level, spring training, and even Jonathan India said last night, he carries himself like a professional baseball player, and we saw that in spring training.
He's a star.
Yes.
When he walks around, he's the star. He's the, if you combined Bobby's play and Jack's personality, you might have the face of baseball. But Bobby is just not that guy off the field. He's very quick with his answers. He wants to sort of blend in. His play does not blend in. Where Jack walks around and you see this guy is a star.
Vinny's personality.
Vinny's
Vinny.
yeah, Vinny and Bobby combined. But I think Jack might combine that overall mashing, towering home runs with the fun sort of aura that he keeps when he walks around a clubhouse or walks around, a baseball field, that it's like, oh, that's the star right there.
Yeah, I mean, he has that star personality, and you definitely notice
Presence,
when
sort
he's
of. Yeah.
the presence, and when he's walking onto the field or he's walking in the clubhouse, you know that he's there. And yes, you could hurt a player's confidence. It's also a guy, though, that likely will have less than 80 games in the minor leagues before making his debut.
Mm-hmm.
If he comes up and struggles, it's not that he can point back to and go, man, I had 350 games and I'm still not ready for the big leagues. That has to be frustrating. If it got to that point where he's overmatched, he's overwhelmed, and he just can't cut at the big leagues and has to go back, I don't believe that's detrimental to his psyche, because we know how fast he's progressed and what role you put him in on the team. He's not being called up as the savior, but one of the guys who can truly help this lineup. And that's why I'm more along the lines of Sterling of 80-20. You are getting to the point where, yes, he absolutely makes them better. And in AAA, we had that conversation not too long ago with Cameron Maben. It was his brother you're talking about. Like, it's easier to hit the big leagues for me than it was in AA, because guys are more accurate. You're just facing better pitching. You'll see more talented pitching. We can all acknowledge that.
But it's going to be more around the strike zone rather than one might be low and away and one might be in your ear.
Yes.
From time to time.
And that can make you uncomfortable in the box. Look, those bad games are going to happen last night, that stat line or that box score.
Yeah.
It's going to happen at the big league level. We just know that that's a part of his game. The upside, though, and the power he brings to this lineup, they desperately need it right now, and you wouldn't have to pull off a trade to bring in someone like that.
Yeah, and so, Dylan, what's your breakdown of what, as you view it and say, okay, they should bring Jack up today or soon, is, well, this is what's best for him, or, well, I'm saying that because it's best for the club right now and maybe not best for the player specifically.
I'd say 80-20, yeah.
80-20? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's
80-20 for
really,
the player.
really good
Yeah,
breakdown.
Yeah, I think can we all agree that it's 100% if we said, what's the percentage of if it's best for the club to bring up Jack? Can we all agree 100. like it's 100%, like
Right.
he would make the team better?
Absolutely.
Like right now, the team would be better. So JJ's balancing what makes the team better right now and what makes the player better for the rest of this season and 2026 and 2027 and 2028. Last night was interesting because I do think you have the big press conference. People are there. It's on MLB TV last night. My son and I watched. We get to see Steven and Bethany right behind home plate, and Susan St. John, the family there, right behind home plate, and I took a picture and sent it to him like, hey, guys, what's up? I'm watching you guys while I'm watching Jack. So he gets up there, and it's swing, looking at a curve, strike three. All right, that was a little bit of I'm swinging, I'm up here to hit, and could be a little bit of that, antsiness, right? The bottom of the fifth, his fourth at bat, is the one that I'm wondering if the Royals look at and say, this is where the evolution of what we'd like to see Jack improve on. Maybe it was the first game in Omaha, so there were still those jitters and wanting to come through, but you've got first and second with 2 outs. He strikes out swinging on 5 pitches, and only one of them was in the zone. It was essentially a non-intentional, intentional walk. We're going to not really throw many strikes at all, and if he salvies it and gets himself out, he gets himself out. But he swung at 3 of the 5 that were outside of the zone, and the last one was a changeup in the dirt that he swung over the top of. They weren't really pitching to him in that at-bat. It was first and second, 2 outs. He's not going to hurt us. That's one to where in a month, if he's still down in AAA, does he just sit there, watch those pitches low, and then go to first and it's bases loaded, 2 outs for Melendez? Or Devaney, I can't remember who was hitting after Jack. I think it was Melendez was hitting after Jack. Because if you're the pitcher, do I want to face Jack Caglione or do I want to face MJ Melendez? with first and second, 2 outs, down 7-5. I'm going to work around this guy. But he got himself out by swinging at pitches that were at his feet or one that was in the dirt on the 1-2 pitch. That was the one at bat to where it was like, guys there, opportunity, drive runs in, close game, and I'm sort of swinging out of my shoes at this one. Maybe tomorrow, maybe today's different. Maybe he has the same thing and it was like, goes back to the dugout and was like, looks at the tablet or whatever. It's like, damn, only one of those was a strike. And I swung right through it and missed the slider. One pitch was in the zone and I swung through it, and it was a 1-0 pitch. Swung through the slider, probably thought it was going to be a fastball. Slider, swung through it, and then change up. Change up at his feet, change up at his feet, change up in the dirt. Kept going lower, 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 and watching him swing and foul it off and then swing over the top. I wonder if tonight, same situation, he's like, no, I know how they're pitching me. They're going to work around me. I've got to approach this knowing that they're probably going to work around me because the guy behind me is batting 100, and I'm hitting, baseballs 4 times that feat of hitting home runs. That was the one that sort of sticks out. But I wonder if there's also, Jack, I'm here to come through.
Yeah.
Like I'm Vinny Pasquantino. I'm swinging and not walking as much because I'm here to hit RBIs. I'm the number 3 hitter, not to walk, to drive the runs in. I don't know. Maybe that was the at-bat, and tonight is a quick learn.
Yeah, that was always going to be the downside to his game. When he was drafted coming out of Florida, it was if he's got a bad game, you could see an 0 for 5 with the hat trick there with 3 strikeouts.
I think at AAA he's swinging at 64% of all the pitches so far. I mean, 2 out of every 3 pitches thrown his way, he's swinging at it. That's also what we knew when they drafted him.
And this film will go to big league clubhouses when he gets called up, and they will say in spots like this, run drive or to drive in a run, he's going to be incredibly aggressive. And that's where this does go hand in hand with what J.J. McCullough was talking about of the perfect time to call up a player is when you're playing well, when your offense is thriving, or to call up a pitcher into the rotation when the rotation's throwing well. So there's not that immense pressure. And I believe it also brings up, like, Vinny hitting well. When Jack Caglione gets called up, the last thing I want to see them do is hit him 7th, where Michael Massey's hitting behind him, or Kyle Isbell is, or Freddie Fermin. And again, those guys can get hot at the right time, but what we saw last night will be what big league pitchers do. They'll say, all right, there's 2 outs, first and second. You can put 3 on the board right now, or I can throw you 3 sliders down in the way, change-ups in the dirt. And if you do take your walk, all right, I'll face Michael Massey.
I was going to say, I'll take on Michael Massey.
I'll face that. I'll face Kyle Isbell, or I'll face Freddie Fermin. And it's not to disrespect those guys, but those 3 guys, or bottom-of-the-order hitters, can't do what he can do. And that is going to be the adjustment. And I'm sure what the scouts are looking at in the organization of, Jack, if you're going to get called up, they're not going to groove you fastballs in hitters' counts. If it's 2-0, you are not getting a fastball down the middle because they know what you are capable of. They're going to throw you that slider down in the way. And if you can spit on those, all the better, because eventually they're going to have to start throwing to you. And that's why I wonder if when Salvi gets hot, or if he does, or if Vinny can stay hot, if Bobby gets hot, now you put him in the middle of that, and you're going to have to throw to him because you're not going to want to load the bases for Vinny or load the bases for Salvi or Maikel Garcia, who's the hottest hitter on this team.
And that's where, as we take a break, that's where I do think the impact of Caglione can happen even if he's struggling in that, well, I got first and second 2 outs, and I got Massey on deck. Am I going to throw anything to Cags, or am I going to throw a bunch of balls? And if he walks, well, guess what? Now it's bases loaded with 2 outs with Massey, as opposed to first and second 2 outs with maybe Massey or Biggio or Canna up there. They ain't pitching around that guy. All right, we're going to go ahead and get this guy out. Now Massey's leading off. Now you're further away from turning over the lineup. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. All right, wrapping up this hour. Jack, appreciate it, man. Thank you for hanging out with us for the hour.
Of course.
You know, we're going to talk some football next, so get the hell out of here, you know?
That's fun, yeah.
Sorry,
hey, I'm not a football guy. No, I
yes,
can't talk
you
football at
are.
all.
You
Yeah,
can.
yeah.
You can. Yes, he can. The guy who hosts the
Yes,
Chiefs
he
postgame
can.
show. Being a
That's
jerk,
exactly what we
Jack.
were talking about.
Yes, they can.
Yes, they can.
That's right.
Hey, breakout candidate, Chiefs this year. Who you got? Quickly.
Wow.
Jalen Royals.
Putting him on the spot.
Not a rookie. Not a rookie.
Oh, not a rookie.
It's going to be breaking out.
Brian Cook.
Ooh, close. I think it might be a safety, just a different
Primary.
Let him cook.
one. Deion Bush. It's a Wednesday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. We had up until 2 o'clock. Hey, let's talk some football, right? OTA's going on. We'll hear from the Chiefs coming up tomorrow with some press conferences, as tomorrow the last day of these OTAs. Another week of OTAs and then mandatory minicamp before a break and then training camp starting. Phase 3 going on with OTAs in the offseason program. Adam Teicher from ESPN Chiefs Insider joining us here in the Zone. Adam, how are you, sir?
Good, Jason. How are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. Let's talk OTAs, shall we? When you cover these things, what can you glean? What do you see? What are you looking for while you're out there while the Chiefs are practicing?
Well, it's not real football because there's no pads or anything like that, or anything like that. It's a non-contact session. So a lot of times what's most interesting to me is how they're using guys. What roles, what are they asking receivers to do? What are they asking backs to do? The line play is almost non-existent, but at least you can see what roles they might be they're going to ask of guys. So to me, it's more about who's where and how they're being utilized than really anything. So, but it is a good first look, and it can give you a peek into what the plans are. I remember when Travis Kelce was a rookie, the Chiefs were moving him all over the place and throwing the ball to him down the field, and I'm thinking, okay, they've got big plans for this guy, and of course he hurt his knee, he had that micro fracture and missed the whole season. But you could tell back in OTAs that there was a little something there. So I'm looking to see whether maybe any of the rookies or free agents they added kind of has that kind of impact. Yeah,
Adam Teicher is our guest from ESPN. I do believe there'll be a lot of eyes that'll be on the offensive line and the rotation there. The Chiefs have talked about in the offseason Kingsley at left guard. They've mentioned that. Even behind the scenes have talked to people about, their faith in Kingsley Suamataia to play guard. As you read the tea leaves and maybe, an opportunity to see the guys out there and see the reps, is it one of the things that we're wondering over the next couple of weeks in minicamp to see, is this Kingsley's job to lose, or is there a legit battle at left guard that guys might be splitting first-team reps at that spot?
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to handle the reps, but I don't think I think that maybe it'd be a fair thing to say that it's his job to lose, but the Chiefs will give Mike Caliendo a good look as well. So if I had to handicap this, I think Suamataia would win the job. But I still think there's a significant chance that Mike Caliendo could win that job as well. And hey, somebody's going to get cut between now and the start of the season. Is there somebody on the roster who's not even on the roster right now who might wind up starting at that spot for the Chiefs? And maybe one of the more interesting things about that is the Chiefs drafted Hunter Norzad last year in the 5th round, and I don't know how much of a part of this he's going to be. It's interesting that Andy Reid didn't mention him as one of the competitors for that job. So that tells me if indeed Norzad is not going to get any kind of serious consideration to be the starter, that the Chiefs are pretty serious. They think that one of those two guys can handle that job adequately. So we'll see, but I do believe the Chiefs feel that way.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Hunter Norzad. Do you think, as you're talking about the different guys, Caliendo or Kingsley, and drafting Norzad, that felt more like, all right, are you drafting this guy to be a center, or are you drafting this guy to maybe be Allegretti, that was a center but also was able to play guard when one of those guys went down and did a fantastic job there in the Super Bowl against the 49ers when Joe Thuney got injured. And so do you think Norzad is a guy that will get looks at guard at that left spot with Kingsley? And if so, I mean, if Kingsley's a guy that they are placing there to be the starter right now, they also had, Trey Smith when they drafted him. He was a guy that was going to be a backup to Kyle Long and LDT. And then all of a sudden through OTAs and training camp, well, Trey Smith is our starting guard. You're not going to keep this guy off the field. I'm not saying that it's Hunter Norzad at all or Kingsley, but I do wonder, is in your mind, do you think Norzad is a player that could find himself getting guard reps this year, even though, he played center in college?
I mean, I think he deserves at least to be part of this the mix there and get some a look. It's beyond me how the Chiefs would draft him last year in the 5th round and then not consider him part of that, a possibility for that job. And if that's true, that tells me a little bit about what they think about him. So, and what his future might be for the Chiefs. I mean, if all he is a backup to Creed Humphrey, I don't see much of a future for Hunter Norzad with the Chiefs. So I think this is a big year for him. A big camp and maybe even a big OTA, even though they're not playing real football. I think there's going to be we're going to know some things about his future with the Chiefs at least over the next few months.
I don't think there's anything wrong with having an insurance policy if the best center in the league were to get injured in Creed Humphrey, to not just have to go to, a Caliendo or something like that, to where you feel like there's a massive hole at that spot. So I get the reason behind if you draft somebody to be the backup center, but I also don't know that I would draft somebody specifically as a backup center in the 5th round. Like if I'm drafting somebody in the 5th round that plays center, I'm picturing Allegretti in my mind, who wasn't a 5th rounder. That guy was 7th round draft pick. That's who I'm picturing. And so I'll be honest, I'd be disappointed if Norzad doesn't get an opportunity to play at the left guard spot and he's not viewed as a guard-to-guard player that is the backup center, the way that Allegretti, I think, really filled that role well for this team when guys went down. I was kind of hoping Norzad would play that type of position. And it would be surprising and quite frankly, Adam, disappointing if Norzad was center only.
No, I agree with you. And, there's only so many roster spots on game day. And if all the guy is on game day is a backup to Creed Humphrey, that's a waste of a roster spot. And, look at it this way, Jason. The top 2 offensive linemen the Chiefs drafted last year, one of them has already been changed. One of them, who the Chiefs had high hopes could be a long-term left tackle, has already moved positions and is already in the mix to play a different position, which is okay, I guess, if he turns out to be a good player there. But we don't know that yet. And the second offensive lineman they drafted is maybe not going to be part of not going to be a candidate to be a starter, even though the Chiefs are really looking for a good player there. That's two pretty good disappointments with their 2 top offensive linemen last season. So, hey, let's see what happens with each guy. I mean, I'm not ready to declare that's where we are yet, but if Suamataia doesn't win that job and Hunter Norzad is just a backup for Creed Humphrey, that's pretty good indictment of their top 2 offensive linemen from last year's draft.
And it would be an indictment on, is that scouting or is that development? It's the thing that we've talked about before as we've looked at some of these offensive linemen, that there's credit where credit is due in the scouting and development of certain players. But also there would be a question around whether or not, if you draft Wanya Morris in the 3rd round and you draft Kingsley Suamataia in the 2nd round and Hunter Norzad in the 5th round, and you come away with those 3 guys that none of them have earned a starting spot when you've turned over the left tackle and left guard and some injuries along the way at certain spots, that none of those guys are good enough to be like starters. Like, there would be some questions at that point for especially 2 different day 2 picks in the mix there.
Yeah. I completely agree. So, he's a guy, Norzad, even though he may not figure a whole lot. I'm curious to see how they're using him and in what capacity. I mean, is he getting some starters reps, or is he just sort of one of the guys filling out the depth chart?
Adam Teicher's our guest from ESPN. We're talking about like development of players, right? And looking at last year. In your time covering this team and maybe specifically Andy Reid and his tenure with the Chiefs, how important is it for these OTAs and to be available for them? Because I feel like there's the message that's given depends on the situation at the time. So, for instance, if a player misses OTAs, not that big of a deal. You know, he's good. He's going through mental reps, like whether that be Xavier Worthy or FAU and things like that. It's not a big deal. You know, he's it's OTAs and he's good. But then in the season, if there's a struggle, missing OTAs is then cited as a reason for the struggles. Well, you know, he wasn't available for OTAs. You know, he wasn't really there taking all the reps, and that has an impact on the guys. So in your time covering this team with Andy Reid, which side is it? Is it that important that it can affect their development in the season and be cited as a reason for struggles, or is it not that big of a deal and the OTAs missing is used as an excuse for said struggles that could happen with a player?
Well, it can be overcome. I mean, I don't think that's a fatal blow to anybody's season. It doesn't have to be a fatal blow to anybody's rookie season if you're not practicing in the OTAs. It helps. I mean, I don't think there's any question that it's part of a player's, particularly a young player, it's part of his development. And missing out on that hurts. And, you know, back in the day, OTAs maybe were less important because you had two-a-days at training camp, and there was a lot of work being done at training camp, and there was a lot of hitting going on, and it was a lot. Training camp was just a different animal back then. They got a lot more work in than they're allowed to do now. So you miss some OTAs or all of the OTAs, and that's a setback. You're not going to be able to make that up as easily as you could have, say, 20 years ago. By doubling up in training camp, so it can be tough. So I don't think it in and of itself. No, it's not a death blow by any means for a guy's rookie season if he's not out there.
Adam Teicher is our guest from ESPN. We talked about the offensive line and things like that. Is there anything defensively that you might be looking for in these OTAs, whether that be team portion, individual portion of the OTAs, anything that you might be looking at on the defensive side?
Yeah, the linemen, again, no pads, so it's tough to tell what they've got in Norman Lott and in Austin or Ashton Gelati. So, that we won't be able to learn a whole lot about those guys other than maybe some of their movement skills. But, the secondary, I think, is a little bit different. And you can tell some of the things that Spagnuolo is thinking about, at least thinking about, by how he's using guys. What's Jaden Hicks's role going to play? I mean, I'm sure he's going to be a starter, but is he going to be more of that Jason Reed role, or is they going to do some different things with him? Those are the kinds of things I'm curious about. Is Mike Edwards going to sort of pick up where he left off a couple of years ago when he left? Corner, what's the rotation there? Is how much slot is McDuffie going to end up playing? And, how much is Jalen Watson going to be in there? So, what's Josh Williams' role? Noel Williams, how much is he going to be able to do, and how they're using him? So I think the secondary on defense is kind of the area that's of most interest, and you can learn the most.
Yeah, I'm with you. That was one of the things that I looked at as well, and we were talking about it to start the show of just things we can glean by any takeaways from OTAs. And I think what I'm most interested in, Adam, is, how much it's going to result in a direct correlation from what we see this week or next week or mandatory minicamp versus what we see in Brazil against the Chargers. But man, I'm really curious as to how much inside Trent McDuffie is going to be playing in the slot, because certainly sounded like he was all for it in the exit interview. That he talked about moving down to the slot, signing Christian Fulton, drafting Noel Williams. Those are outside players. Jalen Watson, an outside player. It certainly sounds like it's setting up for him to be a slot cornerback, but that's one of the main things that I'm curious to see is just what happens with the secondary and what's their view of Trent McDuffie. Is he now their slot corner moving forward?
Yeah, no doubt. And the Chiefs know what he can do back there. I mean, it's not a mystery how he can play as a slot corner. So to me, it's okay, how are they on the outside without him out there?
Yeah.
And who steps up? I mean, is Christian Fulton what they thought he would be? And is Jalen Watson going to play as well as he did at times last year? What's Noel Williams' role? And can Josh Williams figure into all this before it's over? Because I still think there's some potential there. He hasn't played a whole lot, and he hasn't done a great job making the most of the opportunities he's had to play. But I still think there's a lot of potential with Josh Williams, and hate to see him go on somewhere else and become a pretty good player. I hope the Chiefs are planning to give him a pretty good run, give him a pretty good look. But there's a lot of bodies in there. But to me, it's more about, all right, what's going on outside without Trent McDuffie?
Yeah, and that's where we talked about Norzad. And, if he's not getting reps at guard or getting an opportunity to play left guard, if it's just like backup center only, it'd be a disappointment. I think there would be a level of disappointment for me if Trent McDuffie is playing more on the outside. Because, he can do so many things from the slot, whether it's blitzing and disguising the blitzes are great, how good he is at covering those slot wide receivers. But also, if he's playing on the outside, Adam, it kind of felt like the plan this offseason was for McDuffie to slide back into the slot, because with Fulton, with Watson, with Josh Williams, drafting Noel Williams, if McDuffie's playing on the outside, that feels like a lot of redundancy for guys that are specific outside players.
Yeah, well, once the Chiefs drafted Noel Williams, not just drafted him, but traded up to get him.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. That's a pretty good sign of what their plans are for McDuffie. So. Hey, if McDuffie is not their predominant slot corner, who's it going to be?
Yeah.
Right? Who is the other candidate? You can go back to Shamari Connor. So, I think that's their best lineup. But who else? Is it
Nick Jones?
Jalen Watson? Is it Noel Williams? Is it Josh Williams? So, I want to see how they how they're looking at those guys and what they look like in those roles.
It could be just a massive upgrade, Adam. If we think of last year at times and we say, here's the secondary or the cornerback specifically, you've got, when Watson was out, like you've got Nazi / Joshua Williams, you've got McDuffie, and then at slot, you've got Connor or Christian Roland Wallace, as opposed to maybe in Brazil, you've got Jalen Watson, Christian Fulton, and then McDuffie in the slot, and Shamari Connor playing more of a rover type if you need him to be that guy that's not necessarily a safety or a cornerback that's just sort of, I don't know what you would call him. People have different names, the star, the, tiger, or whatever. They have different names for a particular player that they just move around. Like it seemed like a couple of years ago, Connor was used that way, and he was sort of a ball hawk and was around that. Just the difference in what the secondary feels like from certain times last year to what it could be in Brazil feels like it could be one of the most improved positions on this team.
Yeah, maybe. I see what you're saying, but man, it's a lot of times you see things this time of year and you feel like there's they're in a pretty good spot, and it just doesn't work out that way. So, right. But I think the potential is there, no doubt, and. But got to stay healthy, too. They need to keep all those guys around, and that way they can mix and match and maybe line up against a particular opponent one way and against another opponent another. So I think keeping those guys healthy is going to be a big deal.
Adam Teicher is our guest from ESPN, Chiefs Insider. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Speaking of health, Rashee Rice, we'll see how much he participates and what he looks like while he's out there. Travis Kelce, what he literally looks like with the shape of Kelce. We'll talk a little bit about that and what the Chiefs may get in their wide receiving core and Travis Kelce combined. We'll talk about that coming up next with Adam Teicher from ESPN Chiefs Insider. More Zone next.
mirage.
Is it the cheese capital
You're-
of the
you're
the-
sitting here
besides
going-
Wisconsin?
You're sitting here going, it's a mirage. There's nothing here. It's Colby on the horizon. We found a place. We can get gas and not get stuck in the middle of nowhere.
That's what it is.
Colby, Kansas,
Okay.
the oasis of the plains.
Great. Awesome.
We are going to stop stop there, Sterling. We're going to drop your name like you're a big timer and see what they say.
They'll say, we have no idea who this
Not
guy
sure.
is, but he sounds like a lovely man.
He sounds amazing. Visiting with Adam Teicher from ESPN. You, first of all, congratulations on selling the house, and hopefully a successful and easy transition move. You wrote about the Chiefs and drafting and helping out with George Karlaftis. As you look at the draft picks with Ashton Gelati and Omar Norman Lott, do you think the biggest beneficiary of that could be George Karlaftis this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think Chris Jones as well. I mean, no secret the Chiefs needed help to big-time help for those guys, and they decided to, spend their money elsewhere. But I do think that, Karlaftis certainly could be one of the beneficiaries of this. I can't tell you what either guy's readiness is for the NFL game. I mean, how much is it reasonable to expect the big things from those guys? But I just feel like if the Chiefs are going to have an improved pass rush, if they're going to be back where they were in 22 and 23 in terms of sacks, which is among the league leaders, right there in the top 3 or 4, those guys, at least one of those two guys, one of those two rookies, or maybe both, has to be a contributor, have some kind of impact.
Yeah, I mean, is falling to 39 last year, which was 18 fewer than the year before? I guess that was what it'd be. So a sack a game, is that in your mind, or listening to coaches, whatever, is that luck, circumstantial? The pressures are there, but you're not getting the sacks, or is it just simply they just weren't nearly as good last year as we were hoping they would be, and that's what accounts to one sack per game, not actually getting the quarterback on the ground?
No, they just weren't as good. I mean, I think you can look at pressure rates and all that and see a drop as well. And it got better as the season went on. I mean, clearly the Chiefs were better with the pass rush the last half of the season. So maybe that's reason for optimism if you're the Chiefs. But on the other hand, Tershawn Wharton's not around. So one of your second leading sack guy is gone. So if you're going to boost those numbers, they're going to have to come from somewhere. And certainly, Chris Jones, you expect him to get more than 5, and maybe Karlaftis gets more than he did last year. But somewhere, somebody else is going to have to step up, and I don't know who the logical candidates are. And I don't see Mike Dana as a big sack guy, and certainly Felix at this point of his career probably doesn't look like that guy. So maybe Omenahue, that might be a guy who you look at as well. But I feel like if you're talking about this thing taking a big jump back to 50 plus in terms of sacks as they were in both 22 and 23. Then one of those guys, or maybe both, has to be a big part of this.
Visiting with Adam Teicher from ESPN. Let's talk about one of the players that unfortunately his season was ended early on just an unfortunate play after an interception and Rashee Rice tearing his ACL. It certainly sounds like he's going to be back to being Rashee Rice, that it's not one of those late ACL tears where the entire offseason you're worried about and going through rehab. This was one to where maybe he's got a regular off season and getting back into shape. I also wonder, Adam, if there's any indication whatsoever from the Chiefs or anything, if there's an idea of if he's going to be available for 17 games in the regular season. I don't mean health-wise. I mean Roger Goodell and NFL suspension-wise. It certainly seems like last year was foolhardy to think that the case would be resolved and he would face some sort of a suspension. But now I'm sort of curious, are we talking about maybe even this year not getting suspended, depending on what happens over the next 2-3 months with the case and whether it's resolved or not?
Yeah, it can be hard to predict these things because sometimes they're not just the punishment itself, the length of the punishment, the length of the suspension, but the timing of these things just is wildly inconsistent. And with this one, I was really expecting something last year, and here we are almost a year later, and we still have nothing. So, yes, they're expecting something for him. Exactly what, they don't know, but I do think it's a mistake to think that Rashee Rice will play the whole season from a suspension standpoint. Hey, but I thought that last year and I was wrong. But I think now I'm doubling down on that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine he's going to play all 17 games without the NFL getting involved.
The NFL cares about the Shield, so this is not to say that, well, we'll do whatever we want and PR be damned, and, it's inelastic, so it doesn't really matter what we do. People are going to watch and we'll continue to make money, and the salary cap's going to go up and revenue and all of that stuff. So it's not just being flippant about it from the NFL. They certainly care about that. But I wonder, does it matter, do you think, in their eyes, that if, we have the video. This is not a question of, hey, well, it's going to be figured out in court, and if he's found guilty or innocent, well, he's already said he did it. The video's there. So there's, we can wait for the case to adjudicate itself, but Roger Goodell, even if they come back and like, oh, he pleaded out and whatever, they can still suspend him based on putting the league in a bad light. Like, do they? I feel like from the NFL's perspective, would you rather just get it done in the next month or so and say we're suspending him 6 games and it's a story in early mid-June rather than, okay, it's a week before the season, they suspended him, and now Brazil, that's the conversation about Rashee Rice, or middle of the season, that's the conversation when the NFL's dominating. Now it's about Rashee Rice and you're bringing that story back up again. I just feel like the further away from the season, the better it would be for the quote-unquote shield of getting this done, getting the suspension, the 24-hour news cycle, and then it goes away, as opposed to maybe leading up to that game in Brazil if something comes down, and now it's more than a 24-hour news cycle.
No, I mean, looking at this from that aspect, this is going to be sort of a black eye for the league, no matter when it happens. And at least when camp is going on, there's all kinds of storylines, not only with the other storylines, not only with the Chiefs, but other teams that could drown that out. So I don't think so. I mean, if the league has any concerns, it's what any kind of suspension might do to the ratings. And hey, there's no way of knowing that. I mean, the Chiefs might be, hey, they went to a Super Bowl without the guy last year, so they could survive without him. So yeah. I think the league's going to do what the league's going to do and not necessarily worry about the timing in that sense. When's a good time to do this? To maybe minimize the damage. I mean, hey, the video is out there, and that to me is sort of you're right. That's the big circumstance here. The league has penalized players before they've been before the courts have had their say when there's been video, and so I'm not clear on why the league is waiting, but they don't have to wait for this thing to get resolved in court.
Adam Teicher is our guest from ESPN. As it relates to Rashee Rice, it feels like last year Rice and Kelsey were pretty connected, and then Rice went down, that he was going to be such an intricate part of the offense that maybe they felt the offensive line could get by with what they had because they could get the ball out of their hands quickly with getting the ball to Rashee Rice and letting him pick up 7, 8, 9, 10 yards after contact, working with Kelsey if other guys are worried about Rice, and then maybe Worthy over the top if you get a little bit more time in the pocket and work some of those deeper and Hollywood intermediate things like that. And then obviously Hollywood got injured, but then Rice went down, and that felt like that was such a significant blow to this offense that then it was Travis Kelce. That's where he's going, and it's only really to Travis Kelce because Worthy is not somebody that's developed to play the Rashee Rice role at this time. Last year seemed like, and maybe this year will be different for Travis Kelce, Adam, but last year seemed like maybe the first time in his career that Travis Kelce needed another guy around him to make him look like Travis Kelce.
Yeah, if there's any change to the Chiefs offensively, and we started to see it last year, and you're right, the Rice injury I'm surprised it wasn't more devastating than it was. I mean, clearly their offense didn't function as well. They were still able to win games, though. But that was devastating. But if there's one thing that became clear last year, is that the passing game can't revolve around Travis Kelce. I mean, that's not to say he can't have some big games or make some big plays, but they have to have more than one guy they can count on to as sort of go-to guys besides him. Because putting that burden on him at this point of his career, they're asking for trouble. And it's not fair to him anymore to ask him to do that. And so when they lost Rice last year, they lost their big gun in that respect. I mean, that he was gone. And you pile that on top of the Hollywood Brown injury, and then you're asking a rookie, a 21-year-old rookie, to sort of lift that load. And toward the end of the year, he was able to do that to some extent. But to me, that's where Hollywood Brown, re-signing him, comes back in, and a healthy Rashee Rice. I mean, if the Chiefs can get all three of those guys, meaning Worthy, Rice, and Brown, keep them healthy and get something at least close to a full season out of all those guys, I think this thing is going to look a lot closer to what the Chiefs thought it was going to look like last year instead of what it was.
If Rashee Rice was on the team last year and healthy, I think they get to the Super Bowl, because they did. I'm not sure that they would have beaten the Eagles if Rashee Rice was out there. Like that was, that was a pretty decent mismatch in that, and that dominance from that defensive front with the offensive line. I don't know, maybe throwing it quickly to Rashee Rice would have mitigated some of those things. But I bring that up without having Rice there, that it may not have made a difference for what the end result was for the season. But I wonder, Adam, is this team better off now with having the Rashee Rice injury, with a guy early in the season in Xavier Worthy that was going to run certain routes, but he wasn't going to be the focal point of the offense? Rashee Rice was, and Hollywood was going to be that guy, and Travis Kelce, and Worthy would create some mismatches and go deep and be able to stretch the defense and make sure that defense couldn't continue to eliminate the intermediate space. But then with Hollywood out and Rice injured, and then it being Hopkins and Juju and then a slower, older Travis Kelce, it felt like Worthy was pressed into a role that I don't know that the Chiefs were, imagining him playing last year, more of that Rashee Rice role. And I wonder, Adam, with that Rice injury, is this wide receiver core this year now better because Worthy may have developed quicker than they were imagining, and now he can run more of the Rice route tree and not sort of be a gadget, go deep, throw the ball down the line of scrimmage and just, wide receiver screens or something like that, that by being forced into being the main guy and number one receiver, now he's a better wide receiver for it, and now you get Rice back and hopefully a healthy Hollywood.
No, hey, I just
Fantastic.
see what you're saying, but the plan for Worthy was never to have him, even had Rice and Brown stayed healthy, for him to be a one-trick pony, if you will, last year. I mean, that's certainly how the season was going to start. There's no doubt that's how it was going to start, but there was every expectation he was going to grow into a bigger role and do more things as the season went on. So I can't say that. I think that more likely, I think he'd be in a similar spot to where he is right now, even had Hollywood and Rashee Rice stayed healthy. So maybe I'm wrong about that.
Let me put it. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, let me switch it up this way and say maybe the Chiefs, and also could be a no, but maybe the Chiefs and the coaching staff are more aware of how to utilize Worthy overall by him having the opportunities, because he had to be that guy last year without Rice and Hollywood, as opposed to being the third or fourth guy. Now he was in every rep and running the different. Maybe they have a better idea of how they can utilize him this year in the playbook, as opposed to if he were never given those opportunities because there was so much of the offense that was going to run through Rice and Hollywood and Kelce.
I would hope the Chiefs would have a pretty good idea of what the guy was capable of after seeing him all throughout training camp and in 17 regular season games and then 3 more in the postseason. I think they would have a pretty good idea. But you're right. I mean, it was extra development time. I mean, he certainly played more than he was otherwise going to be asked to play. So, yeah, maybe he's ahead of where he would have been, but I think he'd be in a pretty good spot right now anyway.
Well, Adam, let me tell you this. I am so excited for these OTAs and press conferences to hear the Chiefs say they're going to try to push the ball down the field this year. I can't. I mean, it's just going to be such a change from last year, you know. How
many times do you think you're going to hear that tomorrow?
I think more than I want to. I have a feeling maybe more than I want to, because to me it's hollow at this point. I'm going to be, using the cliche that we say around here from time to time. Hey, I'm from Missouri. You're going to have to show me. They talked about it so much last year, and we just didn't really see that materialize. So I'll be one of those. I'll wait until I see it in an actual game rather than hear about it in training camp and practice and OTAs.
No, I'm with you. I think they were really encouraged by what they saw at training camp last year with all 3 guys still in the lineup, and they did look good a lot. I mean, I think they did some good things at training camp before Hollywood got hurt. So we'll see. I mean, but you're right. I think it's time to maybe talk less and play a little more.
We'll see. Adam Teicher from ESPN. Adam, safe travels the rest of the way there, bud, and we'll catch up soon.
All right, Sterling, I'm putting dinner tonight in Colby on your tab.
Yeah, they're going to charge you
like the
double.
I think
Teicher, they're charging you double.
Is that Seabass over there? That guy? Yep. Put it on his
and
tab.
if you want like a sit down, I don't know about that. I just know there's a gas station there. I'm just trying to help you out, man. And there's a gas station and a place to take your dog out. Oasis of the Plains.
All right, good to know.
Yeah, Adam, thank you so much, man. Safe travels, brother.
All right, good stuff, guys.
Absolutely. There's Adam Teicher joining us, Chiefs Insider from ESPN. Another month on the job for Adam as house is sold and making that transition to being, some Colorado peeps. And in Colorado, you call yourself peeps. That's what they do.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, it's a thing.
Is that what you do?
Because it's pretty cool and laid back. Just some peeps. You know what I mean? Just some peeps.
Learn something today.
Yeah. Little man's team played a team from Colorado over the weekend from Denver.
Were they rad?
They were all walking around in ski goggles. It was odd. It's like, what are you doing, man? It's rain. It's not snow. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling, and we'll talk with Mick Schaefer coming up in the 1 o'clock hour, KSHB 41 sports director. We'll get into the noon o'clock hour. We'll get into noon o'clock. The noon hour, we will talk a little bit about some players that may be Chiefs breakout candidates, maybe fears of regression with some players as well. We'll get into some of those things. Rusty Kuntz working with Jack Caglione in the outfield. Let's hear from him. Tony Dungy is tush pushing, or at least weighing in on the tush push. And Terry Bradshaw is, he's pumped. Pumped about Aaron Rodgers joining the Steelers. Let me tell you. More Zone next. ESPN Chiefs Insider. We'll talk about coming up at noon some breakout candidates maybe that we have early thoughts on for the Chiefs and maybe some players that may regress from a year ago. We'll talk about some of that coming up at noon.
My face
is regressing?
No, breakout candidate because my face.
Oh, so you're gonna
acne probably.
I was gonna say acne and stress.
Well, when you
diet?
use sunscreen in the summertime,
It's true.
you know.
That's true. Es true. Sitting there talking with Adam Teicher about Rashee Rice and what the offense looked like last year when Rice went down, and the impact that had on everybody, but certainly Travis Kelce. And, people will be looking at Kelce and his waistline and, his face to see if he's thinner. Is he moving quicker, right? Because he did feel like he was carrying more weight when he was running around the football field last year. And that happens with the aging process, testosterone levels. If you lose, the guys start losing 2 to 3% of their testosterone production every year in their, early to mid 30s. And that's where Kelce's at.
Oh, shoot. I'm early 30s.
I'm late. No, you're right on time.
31.
But didn't last year feel like it was the first time in his career where you felt like his production was also connected to somebody else on the team? Like, there was always that argument of Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Well, Tyreek creates the mismatches so that Kelce can take advantage of it. Well, Kelce creates the mismatches so that Tyreek Hill can take advantage of it. And to me, it was always Kelce first and then Tyreek. Tyreek is amazing and one of the most dynamic players we've seen in the NFL, certainly of his generation. But Travis Kelce was the guy that when he and Mahomes were on and working in concert, it was just different. It wasn't a specific route that he was running. It wasn't a line on a piece of paper, right? We know that about Kelce. But that non-specific line on a piece of paper is a little bit different if you're running it at a slower pace, or that target has to be shorter because the offensive line is not holding up. So you're not getting the depth of targets as much. You don't have the yards after catch as much because you are more of a focal point, as opposed to here's Rashee Rice out in space, and now we've got to almost shade a little bit outside of the hash. Well, now Travis Kelce works on the inside and may have one-on-one where he slips one tackle and he's in the open field with more yak. It did feel like last year was more connected to Rashee Rice and Kelce and Hollywood, that when those guys were gone, it was like, yeah, but Kelce isn't the same Kelce as he's been. Now he's just like a good tight end. He's not like an all-time great. And it was like, well, yeah, in my opinion, like, we needed some help around him for him to look like Travis Kelce. And he hasn't really needed that to look like Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. It's just father time more than anything else. I mean, he's 35, going to be in his 36-year season. Gronkowski has not played football. They're the same age. That's why I'm bringing this up. Has not played football since the 2021. And even that, his final 3 years in the NFL, you saw a pretty steep decline.
Yeah. And 1 year that he took off.
So I'm just sitting here going, expectations may have been a little high, but also it's because Kelce's done it so long, and there's no reason for us to lower those expectations.
Right.
Now we have a reason. I brought it up this year. I think the counting stats might be fairly similar to what we saw last year with Kelce. 850 yards, 6 touchdowns-ish. That's probably where I see him this year. But I think the efficiency numbers will be up for Travis this year. I think some of the yak per reception is going to be up this year. He'll have fewer receptions because I think Rashee Rice takes over that role. But I think we do see a rejuvenated, more effective Travis. But again, you're right. It's not because necessarily he's, beating, double coverage. It's because Rashee Rice is opening things up in the middle. It's because Xavier Worthy, deep, is drawing some safety help on him now. So, again, I think for me, Travis Kelce getting lighter is a good thing. I think, again, some of the efficiency numbers will go up, even if the counting stats look fairly similar to what we saw this past year, which, again, it's a good thing.
Yeah, I just wonder, because when Rashee Rice got injured, going into that game against the Chargers, wasn't he leading the league in receptions? And it was like, I mean, he was the focal point. He was the guy that they were throwing the ball to constantly. It was get the ball to Rashee Rice, get the ball out of Mahomes' hands. And that includes the game against the Bengals that Kingsley Suamataia didn't give, Mahomes much time at all to throw the ball against Trey Hendrickson. And that was with Rashee Rice on the field, because Rashee Rice was the one that was going to come down with the 4th down reception if he wasn't pass interfered with. Rashee Rice was also the guy that came down with the reception on the 4th and 6 conversion that they had illegal hands to the face on Wanya Morris, which made it 4th and 16, which idiots conveniently forget when they say the refs were helping the Chiefs. And the Bengals is a perfect example of the refs helping the Chiefs. They call that pass interference call, which sets the Chiefs up in field goal range to beat the Bengals, but they are so dumb and short-sighted with blinders on that they don't realize the Chiefs converted 4th and 6 and got further down the field on that Rashee Rice catch and run than they did on the pass interference. They were further away after the pass interference call than they were when they converted 4th and 6. Nobody can explain why it was 4th and 16 on that conversion because they're dumb. And if the refs were out to help the Chiefs, they wouldn't have called hands to the face. They would have thrown a penalty on the Bengals if there was no conversion on 4th and 6.
Well, and here's what it comes down to.
People are dumb.
Well, yes, but
Okay.
also expectations, because of success, breed higher expectations. Travis Kelce was 5th of all tight ends last year in receiving yards.
He was a really good tight end last year. He
And
just
that's,
wasn't
I think,
the best in the league.
he had 100 yards, 97 more yards in 6th place. Sam Laporta. They played in the same amount of games. I think a lot of people would assume and even agree Sam Laporta is a really good tight end. Really good receiving tight end for Detroit. He had 150 more yards than Mark Andrews, who played in one more game than Travis Kelce, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Kelce's still a really good player. He's just no longer that elite player.
Right, and it's like, well, Kelce has lost it from being the GOAT. Yeah. All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll talk with Mick Schaefer coming up an hour from now. Thank you to Adam Teicher in the previous hour. Talking some Chiefs football, some OTAs coming up. We'll hear from the Chiefs tomorrow. ESPN has released their first edition of the 2025 FPI. Don't know if you saw this or not. The Football Power Index and the predictive measures that go along with that. The NFL FPI rankings. Number 1, Eagles at plus 5.5. Chiefs at plus 5.4. Ravens plus 5.2. Lions plus 4.8. Bills plus 4.5. Number 6 is Commanders at plus 2.7. So the difference between those top 5, so number 5 and number 6, is the same difference between number 6 and number 11. There was a clear tier 1 of teams in the NFL this year on May 28th, according to predictive measures and the computers, and that is Eagles, Chiefs, Ravens, Lions, Bills. 3 of those being in the AFC. Every one of those teams the Chiefs play, by the way. Eagles, Ravens, Lions, Bills. The Chiefs play this year. And the best chance of winning the Super Bowl, it is the Eagles at 12% and the Chiefs at 11%. Then the Bills at 10%, the Ravens at 9%, Lions at 8%, Commanders 5%, Rams 5%, Chargers at 4%, Bengals 4%, et cetera, and on down the line. The greatest chance of a matchup in the Super Bowl, oddly enough, not surprisingly, because it's the 2 best chances of winning the Super Bowl, it's Eagles-Chiefs is the most probable matchup in the Super Bowl. But that's going to be the most probable matchup in the Super Bowl of the top 2 teams in a year that would be the favorites percentage-wise to go and win a Super Bowl.
Was last year Chiefs-Niners?
I don't know what it was at this time last year, but it would make sense if it was Chiefs-Niners. Whoever was the favorite from the NFC to go and win the Super Bowl would have been, because the Chiefs were the favorite to win the Super Bowl last year out of the AFC. They're the favorite, according to FPI. This is one particular metric. But as I look through some of these things here, like the best playoff odds in each conference, Chiefs have the 3rd best playoff odds. They've got the best chance of winning the playoff, or of winning the Super Bowl out of the AFC. But the 3rd best playoff odds out of the AFC, obviously, because they play in the toughest division in the AFC. 3 of the top 7 teams, percentage-wise, to make the playoffs are in the West. Chiefs at 77%, Chargers at 57%, and Broncos at 49%. Those are 3 of the top 7 of every team in the AFC. So, Raiders are somewhere down there. I didn't even look. It only goes to they only do the top 10. The Colts are 37%. But as I look through this, and the Bills have the great best chance at 81% because their division sucks. I'm looking through this, and you know what one of my takeaways is? It would be a disappointment if Buffalo didn't have the 1 seed this year. It would legit be, if you're Buffalo, you should be the 1 seed in the AFC. There's no reason why you shouldn't be the 1 seed in the AFC.
I feel like we've said that many a time, though.
Agreed. But, and there have been disappointing times. There have been years where it has been disappointing that they have not been the 1 seed. And especially early on in the season when they start off 4-1 or 5-0 and they've beaten the Chiefs already. It's well, they've got the tiebreaker and they've got a 2-game lead on the Chiefs. They're going to be the number 1 seed, and it's going to be an uphill climb for the Chiefs. And whether they're the 1 seed or they've come to Kansas City or they've been the 2 seed and the Chiefs have had to go to Buffalo, it hasn't resulted in them going to the Super Bowl. But Buffalo plays Baltimore, Kansas City, Cincinnati, and Philly at home this year. Their toughest opponents are at home, not to mention the crappy division that they play. Their road opponents out of division, they go to Houston, they go to Atlanta, they go to Carolina, they go to Pittsburgh, they go to Cleveland. As opposed to what we've talked about with the Chiefs schedule and the difficulty there, the AFC North and, the difficulty in that division, obviously the West, the South, just, filled with okay teams, and maybe the Houston Texans being a team that bounces back or slides back. Maybe they take a step forward or they take a step back. I don't know that they'll just be right where they were last year. I kind of feel like it's one or the other. Either they're going to slide back or they're going to take a step forward. And Buffalo, in a position that they're in, in the position they were in last year, in that close to going to a Super Bowl and having all your toughest opponents at home, and you play 6 games against the Jets, Patriots, and Dolphins this year. Like, Buffalo should be the 1 seed. If they're not, then there's something went wrong, and Sean McDermott might get fired.
Yeah.
If they're not the 1 seed. Like, legit. Like, if they don't make the Super Bowl, or they're the 2 or 3 seed and they lose on the road in, like, the divisional round, at some point you say, who's going to be the guy that gets you over the hump? Because
should have done it 2 years ago.
yeah.
I tried to tell him.
Yeah, the issue is, though, but then who? Because it's
Harbaugh.
not.
I'm talking about
That's fair.
It was the off season where he lost to the Chiefs at home when they finally got that game at home, and then had
in the
all
divisional
those
round.
ridiculous. I mean,
And then Harbaugh took the Chargers job.
right, but the whole like let's go for it on 4th down in our area,
Yeah.
like you had, and that was the year
That's
of
right.
the
Fake punt.
speech that
Yeah.
came out. Whoever,
that's right.
you know, you had so many reasons to get rid
Yeah.
of Sean McDermott that season, and then place Jim Harbaugh right in that spot, and I think he missed out.
It's a big year for McDermott. I mean, it's for the Bills because of the team, the down division, and your toughest opponents this year are all at home.
But if you fire McDermott for losing to Andy Reid in the playoffs, and the Chiefs in the playoffs, you're firing every single AFC coach.
Well, the
Bengals
won.
There's a little more of a history with Sean McDermott. You don't kick the football out of the back of the – or no, my bad. You do kick the football out of the back of the end zone instead of kicking it short to bleed some time off, 13 seconds.
I get it, but, man.
They've fired
it's
everyone
just,
around him
yeah,
since he's been there.
I will. That's one of the
that's
pushbacks I'll always give is they've been.
It's been
It's
an
a good
offensive
point.
coordinator. It's been a defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
It's been this guy. It's been everybody but Sean McDermott.
They do such a good job in the regular season. They're just not
100%.
as good as the Chiefs. Is what it comes down to. They're just not as good. They're not as good, and so if you
Well,
fire
they're certainly
him,
not as good in the playoffs. They're not as good in
Right.
those positions. So what is the
they're
difference
the
in the
only
regular
team
season
that's
and the
gone
playoffs?
toe to toe.
Well, the
I mean,
Bengals,
the Bengals did once.
Bengals gone twice.
You could argue the
Chiefs
Ravens.
beat them on the
but
last second field goal.
Ravens were one play on 3rd down
Yeah.
away from getting the ball back.
Yeah.
13. I get it, but I just feel like people want to find a scapegoat, and I don't know why I'm taking the Bills' side on this, or even Sean McDermott's side on this. My thing is, if you can him, then who? You at least have a good floor of what you're getting to.
Right, but that's the thing.
There's,
is like
there's no.
At some point, that
it
can't
feels
be the excuse.
right. But
either.
what it feels like, Sterling, is it feels like I don't know that this quarterback's going to win me the Super Bowl, but I'm afraid if I don't have this quarterback that it might be a disaster. So I'm going to stay with this guy and hope that we'll get some things to fall in our favor and go and win. Like, I don't know that Sean McDermott's going to get us to the Super Bowl, but if I fire him and I bring in somebody worse, well, now as the GM, I'm fired and I'm out because I fired Sean McDermott, and now we've taken a step back, and now we're not even winning the division or whatever it might be, as opposed to what's the goal? Win the Super Bowl. Is the guy that's the head coach going to get you to the Super Bowl? I don't know. Well, if you don't know, then go and find the guy that you think will get you there, because those things matter. When you're winning in the regular season and losing in the playoffs, the question is why. What are you doing in the regular season and winning those games? Is Andy Reid not showing his cards?
Sure.
And then in the postseason, he shows everything, and it's like, oh, wait, we were game planning for this or that, where maybe the Bills are going, we're doing everything we can to win this game because we want that home game. Then you get that home game, and maybe your team plays a little tight. Maybe you've already showed your cards of what you were planning on doing with the Chiefs. But the 13-second game matters. The game in Buffalo matters.
Last year, I mean, he didn't do anything really wrong last year, but you just lose again.
Well, because all 3 games, like when we look at it, all 4 games that they've played the Chiefs in the playoffs.
4 falls. Hilarious.
Yeah, right. So the 4 times they've lost to the Chiefs, the AFC Championship game, they were outmatched that year.
Yeah.
Okay, the Chiefs were, I think, the best team in the league that year. They lost to the Bucs, and it was a bad, bad day in the Super Bowl. 13-second game. People want to look at the last 2-3 minutes of that, the back and forth. The Chiefs led for like 35, 40 minutes of that game. Like, they were leading. They controlled that game. People want to ignore the first 3.5 quarters because of the back and forth and because of the 13 seconds. And it's like, well, the Bills should have won that game. Why? Well, because they had the lead with 13 seconds left. Well, the game didn't end with 13 seconds left. And if I want to look at some of the bigger plays and the team that had more control of the game throughout, it was the Chiefs in that 13-second game. Go to Buffalo. If McCole Hardman doesn't fumble through the end zone, they're up 2 scores in the fourth quarter. But he does fumble through the end zone. Buffalo stays alive. They are clinging to life in that game.
Yeah, but you can do the same thing with L'Jarius Sneed punching the ball away from Zay Flowers.
That's fine. We're talking about Buffalo, though.
I know. I'm just saying.
We're talking about Buffalo. So Buffalo specifically, then last year, well, if it wasn't that call on fourth down, that cost the Bills the game. They also had, was it 3 fourth down touchdowns or at least 2? At least 2 fourth down and goal touchdowns. Those are 14-point plays. Credit them for getting it done and scoring those touchdowns. But this was not Buffalo controlling the game and the Chiefs trying to hold on. This was the Chiefs controlling the game and the Bills making huge game-changing plays that they had to make on fourth down. James Cook with that run was awesome. Josh Allen, credit to him for finding whoever it was in the back of the end zone for the touchdown on fourth down. Like, those were the touchdown right before half with 30 seconds to go when the Chiefs were about to go into half with double-digit lead and then get the ball. All of a sudden, now it's different. The Chiefs have controlled those games, and I think there's a question of why in the playoffs have the Chiefs controlled 4 games against the Bills that have been close. The Chiefs have caught on top when it feels like regular season has been the exact opposite, that the Bills have controlled those games.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think
the Chiefs play better in the playoffs for the most part. I think it's
they do.
A realistic thing that they do. And
there
I
might
think
be the
Andy
mental
Reid
side
is
of it.
maybe the best head coach still in the NFL. And so losing to Andy Reid, again, you might be top 5, but you're not 1, so you're not going to overcome that. I know the Bengals have, but I mean, if you think about it, over the stretch of dominance by KC, what team would you rather be, the Bills or the Bengals? I'm going Bills. If the Bengals would have won that Super Bowl, you would say the Bengals for sure, right? I think that's the obvious answer. They didn't win that Super Bowl. Yeah, they got to one, but the inconsistencies of Cincinnati, to me, says a lot about Zach Taylor. Like,
the difference is they both have played in 2 AFC championship games. The difference is Cincinnati's won one of them.
Sure, but my point is, what would you
in this time?
What team would you rather be? I'd rather be the Bills.
I'd rather be the team that's won the AFC. You've got a Lamar Hunt trophy.
Yeah, but the inconsistencies, I think that was their peak. That was their 1 year. I think the Bills have built that better. I think McDermott's a better head coach than Zach Taylor. It's not me trying to rip on the Bengals because they beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. It just the inconsistencies of Cincinnati coupled with Joe Burrow's health. I would 100% take Josh Allen and the Bills and McDermott over
Zach
Taylor and the GM being over. I mean, part of that's also what the front office is willing to spend, which I think plays a huge factor as well.
Yeah, if I'm a team moving forward, I want to be the Bills over the Bengals because I'm not dealing with Trey Hendrickson and then what happens moving forward.
And there's
with
been
trying to pay
more
some other players.
to Sterling's point, he does make a good point of the fact that you have more shots at it with the Bills as opposed to the Bengals. The Bengals have a further. They've reached a further point.
They had a 2-year run that was amazing.
Yeah.
Back-to-back AFC championship games, winning one of them, and going to the Super Bowl.
Doesn't push a dude out of bounds, way out of bounds. Who knows? So.
Yeah, and also you had the lead in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And Matt Stafford converted a fourth down that if he doesn't convert the fourth down to Cooper Kupp, it's Cincinnati's hosting the trophy. I mean, hoisting the trophy.
That's a carbon copy of almost every Bengals Super Bowl run.
I mean, right?
Time,
I mean, it's like,
which is sad. I feel almost a little bad for him in that sense.
And then if Aaron Donald is blocked just a touch longer, Jamar Chase beats his guy. He's running down the sideline.
Well, remember the meme that went around that draft was Penei Sewell anybody versus anybody Jamar Chase. And then it played out at the biggest moment.
Yeah, because Jamar Chase beat his guy wide open. But Aaron Donald just simply won and got him.
Two things I think that were also interesting that stood out on this ESPN FPI thing. Texans being so low at making the playoffs at 54% because the rest of that conference or the division is really bad. Yeah. I mean, Titans are horrible. Jacksonville, I think, is really, really bad.
But did the Texans get a first-place schedule for the first time in a while?
Yeah, they did, but they had that last year too, right?
Right, okay.
They would have had it last year too, and that's why they took a step back, and that's why I mentioned that. I mentioned that with Washington going forward this year. I think the Texans actually take a slight step forward this year. I think the amount of injuries they sustained last year, I know they obviously losing Laramie Tunsil. They did throw a lot of bodies at the offensive line this offseason. Not great ones, but they threw bodies there. Hopefully someone wins for them. I think that division's just so bad, and the Texans, to me, are the clear-cut best team. Colts are getting some love there, obviously, because I think that they have been a fine team for a while. Just what can they do at quarterback remains to be seen with Anthony Richardson. I guess that them only being 54%, I thought the Texans would be a lot higher.
I thought so too, just because of the division. Like the Chiefs are the third favorite or the third highest odds of making the playoffs out of the AFC because of the division.
Correct.
So I would think the Texans would have a higher percentage chance of making the playoffs than, say, the Chargers.
Yeah.
Their percentage of a chance of making the playoffs is below the Chargers this year, the Texans. And the Texans don't play in a division with the Chiefs. The Chargers do. And you only have to play the Chiefs twice.
Yeah.
If you're the Chargers and the Texans, you do play the Chiefs this year. So it's only one game difference with the Chargers and the Texans
but you
and
get
having
the Colts
to play the
twice,
Chiefs.
the Jags twice,
100%.
and the Titans twice.
Not the Broncos twice, and then,
Chargers.
Raiders are improved.
I think Raiders would be the second best team in that division.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I think the Raiders would be the second best team in the AFC South.
What would they be in the East?
They would be,
better than the Jets and the Patriots, probably behind the Dolphins.
Yeah, probably the third best, but you can make a case.
But if the Dolphins trade Jalen Ramsey, then their secondary, I think, is me, you, and Dylan.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that if you know the Dolphins, like what's been going around that franchise as far as their secondary, that might be like an addition by subtraction move. Because they ran Fangio out of town because he wasn't getting along with the secondary, and then look what he ended up doing with a rookie secondary.
Maybe just a complete overhaul is better
I
for
think
everybody.
he's the one, along with Tyreek, that Mike McDaniel's talking about, that he can't. I think it's a quote of, "I can find these guys to a point, but then what do I do after them basically just not caring about losing money anymore?" So
there's a reason why it's like you want to trade Jalen Ramsey. Did he ask for another contract? No, he hasn't asked for the contract. We just want to trade him.
Yeah.
We're just done.
We just want to move him.
Which means he'll be released, and then everyone will then go after Jalen.
We're just ready to move on.
Yeah.
We'll take the hit on the guaranteed money because if we trade him, we're going to have to take that hit anyway. And if we cut him, we're going to have to take that hit. So
I think to your question, he's the third. They're the third team in the AFC East with the Raiders.
Yeah, and I could see them being the second best in the South, depending on what Pete Carroll does in organizing that team better than what they have been, and having a stabilizing factor in Geno Smith at quarterback, with a stabilizing factor, obviously, in a head coach.
Yes. They're doing the right thing, which is weird to say about a Raiders
it sucks.
team.
Yeah, it sucks. But I looking at it, if Buffalo should be the 1 seed. Like, Buffalo should be, to me, the favorite to go to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. Because if they're the 1 seed, I think that should be the favorite to go to the Super Bowl. Right? I mean, if you're the 1 seed, you get a week off and 2 games at home. It's a massive advantage if you're the 1 seed. It doesn't matter. It matters, but it doesn't. Excuse me. It matters, obviously, but it doesn't guarantee that you're going to the Super Bowl if you're the 1 seed, because we saw Baltimore 2 years ago not make it. The Chiefs go into Baltimore and win the game and win 3 games in the playoffs, and go and win the Super Bowl, win 4 of them, and have the toughest road in the history of the NFL in the playoffs, of playing all 4 of those teams. Miami on the road at Buffalo, at Baltimore, neutral site 49ers. It's the toughest road anybody's taken to go and win a Super Bowl. Baltimore's number 1. They were the playoff favorites. They were the favorites in the AFC to go to the Super Bowl when the playoffs started. You're at home, and you don't have to play both the Chiefs and the Bills. You play either one of them. The Bills and the Chiefs both have to play the Ravens and each other to get to the Super Bowl. That's the other part of it. The 2 and the 3 are probably going to have to match up against each other. So you're getting the worst.
Last year.
Yeah,
they basically knocked each other out for us last year.
You're getting the worst, more than likely, you're getting the worst division winner. Probably the Texans, if you're the number 1 seed. So, it is interesting. The most likely matchups are Chiefs, Eagles, Ravens, Eagles, Bills, Eagles. And then the second most likely is Chiefs, Lions, Ravens, Lions, Bills, Lions, but just like Eagles, Eagles, Eagles with the different AFC teams. It's not, Chiefs, Eagles, Chiefs, Lions, Chiefs, Commanders, Chiefs, Rams. No, it's AFC. Who knows out of the Chiefs, Ravens, and Bills, because they're so far and away better than the other contenders as it stands right now. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back. Let's get into our breakout and regression. A couple of candidates that we think or hope or positive on them breaking out this year, and then maybe a concern with a regression for a player or two. We'll do that coming up next. All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. Heading up until 2 o'clock. We'll talk with Mick Schaefer coming up next hour. It's Rotten Tomatoes today, too.
Yeah,
Got
baby.
that couple of movies we'll get into with the Rotten Tomatoes. I'm not going to give away my movies that I'm going to do because I don't have them yet. So that's coming up an hour from now with Mick Schaefer. Let's get into our early thoughts on a couple of players that we may go with the breakout or maybe regressing this year. So a player or two, if you guys have a couple, that we think could break out, and a player or two that we think might regress this year from what they did last year. Now, we can make this regressing with numbers, the counting stats, or it could be just regressing in terms of overall play.
It can be whatever you want it to be.
Just
as long as you have a good explanation, I will not argue with you. If you
That's-
give me a good
that's
explanation,
wrong.
Dylan
That's wrong.
or Jason,
You are
I
gonna
won't argue with you.
You'll argue.
If you give me a dumb reason about something, I will argue
Yes,
with you.
Big dummy. All right, so you know what? Let's start with the positive side,
All right.
unless you want to start with the regression.
No, let's start positive
Great.
first.
Let's go breakout, Canada. Who wants to go first?
I'll give my first one on offense first.
Sterling, go first.
Well, I don't know. I had one ready. Kingsley Sumatia.
Okay, breaking out.
I think Kingsley at left guard is going to be a top 15 left guard in football this year. I think Kingsley Sumatia is going to have the pressure lifted off his shoulders. The left tackle for the Chiefs, I think, is a lot more difficult than people realize. One, with the amount of drops and the style of drop that Patrick Mahomes does. He's always constantly trying to make plays back there. I think left tackle is also under such a microscope when you are protecting a $500 million investment. I thought Orlando Brown Jr., for example, was actually pretty good in KC, and he was treated like he was an absolute bum by a large chunk of the fan base, right? So if you're not literally Trent Williams, you're not good enough to a lot of people in their eye. Fair or not, you're going to hear that. He's 21 last year. We knew that he was going to be a project coming out. I think it wasn't just a physical side. It was more the mental side that Kingsley struggled with last year. That's my personal thought process there. He moves to left guard, and I think you're going to see a Mekhi Becton situation.
Okay.
You're going to see a guy who is...
He's going to grow like 3 inches and 100 pounds?
About that, yes. But
Right.
a guy who I think has the physical traits to really dominate at left guard. But now the pressure's lifted off him. I mean, Mekhi Becton struggled because he was going to be the guy, the tackle to protect in New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
In New York. He's the guy. It was too much for him.
New York.
It was. And he went to even the Eagles, Super Bowl winning team, but he's at guard. And what happens? Well, a lot of the pressure is alleviated. There's already guys that he's playing next to. Put Kingsley next to Creed Humphrey. That's going to help as well. So I really think Kingsley Sumatia has a really good year at left guard. Maybe I'm too high, but what's fun in being mild? Let's be bold. Kingsley Sumatia, really damn good left guard this year. That's my breakout candidate.
Yeah, depending on who you're talking to, you're not too high. You know, it just depends on where you're at. I don't know. I'll go next, and then Dylan. My breakout candidate on May 28th for 2025, even though I believe Kelsey will be losing some weight and be in better shape, I'm going with Noah Gray. I think, you know, and Jared Wiley coming back certainly could throw a wrench into the overall numbers on this. But Noah Gray ended up with 40 receptions, 437 yards, and 5 touchdowns last year, right? 40 receptions, 437, and 5. In the last 5 games, or last 7 games of the season, he had a total of 20 receptions, 210 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So that would be around 50, 550, and 12.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think it's going to be that. But he also had 4 games last year where he had 1 or fewer targets. Not receptions, targets in the game where it was just non-existent. He had that stretch where he had back-to-back games with, 2 touchdowns, so 4 touchdowns in the 2 games. I just think as they transition from Kelsey to the next era, they gave Noah Gray the contract extension with Rice and Hollywood, Xavier, if everybody's healthy. I don't know what the counting stats will look like, but I think he's going to be a guy that will be completely forgotten by the defense. Because if you throw out Rice and Worthy and Hollywood and throw in Jalen Royals as well, and then Kelsey, and if they're in 11 personnel, now not all of those guys can be on the field at the same time, you get it, but if they're in 11 personnel and Noah Gray's out there, who am I guarding? Who am I focusing on? Kelsey, Hollywood, Rice, Gray? Who's going to get the easier? And he catches everything that's thrown his way. I think he could be more of a security blanket for Patrick Mahomes, that you throw the ball his way, he's going to catch it. He had, an 82% catch rate last year when Mahomes threw him the ball. So that's every target. That's not just, that could be a target that wasn't close to him and an uncatchable target. It was just to him. But it seemed like everything his hands touched, he ended up catching. So I'm going to go Noah Gray with my breakout, and maybe that slower transition from Kelsey to the next tight end that they extended last year happens.
I really like that one. I struggled with that one myself because I don't know if the counting stats take a huge step forward, and the efficiency numbers were still really good last year. It's interesting because you would see games where Noah Gray looked like he's a legitimate, maybe middle of the pack tight end one or a back end tight end one, where you go, I can see him taking over for Travis. It's different, but he's still going to be effective. And then you saw games where he disappeared, and I don't, again, think it was all his fault, as you're kind of alluding to here. His overall grade, according to PFF, he was the 8th out of 37 tight ends last year. I mean, he was really darn good, just the counting stats weren't there, and I struggle to find where he's going to get the counting stats this year. I'm with you because I do think Noah Gray, if he ended up getting 650 yards, I think that would still constitute a breakout in my eyes. I just find myself struggling to think, are you taking Travis off the field? How is he going to get the snaps? I think that the year following, once Travis retires, you're going to see Noah Gray get to that maybe even 850 number pretty easily. But I like that thought process.
I think that'd almost be like an expected breakout from Noah Gray in the 2026 season if Kelsey retires.
I like your early call, though. I like this.
We'll see. Dylan, what do you got?
For the offensive side?
Yeah, let's go offensive side. Unless you can only have one player, offense or defense. Whatever you want to go with.
Oh, one each side? Or
we could,
one?
yeah, just doesn't matter.
I'm going to go Hunter Norzad for offense. I think that, not to go against Sterling so heavily here, but I think that he will be the more natural fit at that guard position. I feel like him playing center last year as well in that game is just as much of a statement as Kingsley playing guard.
I love that, by the way.
I like it. I mean,
I'm a big fan of it because, we just got through talking with Adam Teicher an hour ago where he's saying that, is Hunter Norzad even getting snaps at guard? And we had the discussion of, that would be a massive disappointment. If you drafted him in the 5th round and he's backup center only, well, then you can't waste a game day spot on him. He can't be active on game day if he's backup center only. Yeah. I think he should be in the mix at left guard. With Kingsley, with Caliendo, Norzad, I think he should be in the mix at left guard. Because you drafted him in the 5th round. I mean, if you want to throw Hansen in there, that's fine. But I think Hansen is further behind Norzad. Hansen, if we look at that last game of the season where they're talking about Kingsley at left guard, Norzad looked awesome.
He did.
He was playing center, but he looked awesome. C.J. Hansen looked lost.
What's funny is I was team, why are we giving the left guard spot to Kingsley Sumachiia so quickly?
And now your King Kingsley deserves it.
And now I'm not saying deserves it. He's got to earn it, but I'm team. I think the mental side is going to help him a ton, where I think he does have the leg up with a lot of the physical traits. I know we can go RAS score for C.J. Hansen, but just everything in general, I think Kingsley, I've bought in to him being a really good left guard, although I do love where you're coming from with Norzad, because that could be a guy to keep an eye on, because you're right. He did look good against the Broncos. He looked good against the Broncos, again, at center, but I'm with you. I think Norzad's a very interesting one.
And this is an honest question. Are we saying that we think Kingsley can make this transition because we think Kingsley can make this transition, or because of what we saw with Mekhi Becton and Jeff Stoutland and the Eagles?
I think those are completely separate. I can't even look at because Mekhi Becton has a longer history of that, and it was he wasn't a great tackle, and he was injured a lot.
Yeah.
But he also wasn't Kingsley in the couple of games where we saw Kingslly out there, where it was oh my God, you got to get him off the field. He's that bad.
Right.
Because he's also wanting to play tackle again. Mekhi Becton. It's I want to be a tackle, but we'll see what ends up. Sign the contract, play where they want you to play. But he was obviously a really good guard with the Eagles.
Yeah. with Lane Johnson and Cam Jurgens flanking you.
And the best offensive line coach in the game.
And, Saquon Barkley.
And that guy, too.
Yeah.
That guy,
the list goes on.
Yeah, like there are a lot of things that worked in his favor. That would be the home run if Kingsley is anywhere
that's
near
best case scenario. Yeah.
That would be amazing if that was the case.
Trying to be bold, boys. Just trying to be bold.
Would you, maybe like right guard if we don't get Trey re-signed. If we have to walk somehow on the contract on Trey, would he be ready
he
next year?
He signed his deal, so he's playing on the franchise. Or if there's an injury or something.
So 26, that could be Norzad.
That's my bad. 26.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. Yeah.
That could be Norzad. That could be Hansen. That could be a plethora of guys. It could be Caliendo. It could be Kingsley. You never know.
Jalen Moore.
Yeah.
Well,
Josh Simmons is there. Who
Five
knows?
best, yeah.
Who knows? Wanya Morris. Who knows what they're going to do? Nobody knows.
Very true.
Nobody knows.
My breakout defensively.
Okay.
I'm thrilled by this one.
Good for you.
Good transition.
I'm so high on this guy. High as in Teicher going to Colorado.
I got it the last reference, yes.
Christian Fulton. My goodness, I think Christian Fulton is the next in line of the.
Forgot about him. Actually.
Is like.
It's a good one.
The back end CB1.
Okay.
Like, the Chiefs have had two great corners a long time in their history. I mean, if you go back to even Brandon Flowers and Brandon Carr, like they have traditionally had two really good corners. It was Charvarius, it was Legarius. Then it was Legarius and Trent.
What about Thacarius, though?
He couldn't make it, Bo Pete Keys.
I know. Why would you call him Bo Pete? His name's Thacarius.
But I think Fulton's that guy. Fulton took a step forward last year, and I think Fulton fits this Chiefs defense way better than the Chargers. The Chiefs liked him out of college. He's a first-round pedigree. Now you pair him with Spagnuolo and Dave Merritt. You couple that with having Trent McDuffie also in this defense with you. He's sticky. He was a much more willing run stopper last year. PFF would agree with that assessment as well, which you have to do in this Chiefs defense. I really think that we're going to see Christian Fulton look like again, you're going to have all-pro Trent McDuffie, but you're going to have that potential Pro Bowler or that, legit back-end CB1 style of player in Christian Fulton this year. I'm expecting big things from him.
My breakout on the defensive side, I stayed in the secondary, and I went with Jaden Hicks as my breakout. I think that's probably the obvious one. Yeah. Jaden Hicks. I mean, he had the interceptions last year.
It's funny. I wrote down two. I had Jaden Hicks and then Noel Williams, but only because I forgot we signed Christian Fulton, which is actually a better answer.
Well, I think also, I think McDuffie might break out this year and finally make a Pro Bowl. Trent McDuffie. I think this is the year where Trent McDuffie.
2 interceptions in a season.
I think this is the year where McDuffie makes a Pro Bowl. I think this is a breakout year for him that he's going to be a Pro Bowler. That's my bold take.
All pros not good enough.
I'm going bold here that this is, for the first time in his career, this is a Pro Bowl season coming up for Trent McDuffie. I'm calling my shot right now. He's going to break out. No, I mean, Hicks, he's the obvious candidate with the opportunity ahead of him. And he showed when he played, he was around the football. Again, the interceptions and the tackles for loss. He was there. He is willing to come up and play in the run game. So I'm going to go with Jaden Hicks and also McDuffie to make a Pro Bowl. So those are my big ones. Regression on the offensive side, Sterling?
Yeah, this wasn't fun. It's not what I wish to happen, but I'm nervous for Isaiah Pacheco. I've talked about this a little bit. I find myself struggling to find what his role or what he excels at on this current roster construction. And maybe he ends up getting the first few carries of the season. That wouldn't surprise me either. But when you look at maybe the one-cut ability or at least the game speed, because I know the 40 time it's going to say Pacheco, but Elijah Mitchell is much more dynamic as far as a runner than Pacheco. If you want short yardage and vision, you're going with Kareem Hunt. If you want pass catching only, you're going Brashard Smith. I'm struggling to find what does Pacheco do better than the other three guys. He's a physical runner, which has actually backfired a little bit so far with the amount of injuries he's sustained. I know it's a little unfair because I'm holding him to what he looked like after the injury instead of giving an entire offseason, OTAs, preseason to see what he looks like, that much longer post-injury. Maybe he looks like and reverts back to the guy he once was his first 2 years in KC, which was a very good player.
Yeah.
4.9 yards per carry, then 4.6. Last year, I believe he dropped down to 3.7. It was just a massive drop-off. Did not look like the same guy. And if that athleticism goes, the vision is not good enough to make up for it. And again, I find his role, again, especially if Elijah Mitchell makes this team, I find Pacheco's role in dire straits. Again, I hope he proves me wrong, and I hope he's healthy and looks like the guy he was his first 2 years. But if I had to pick a guy who I think I have some concerns about, it probably is Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah, and they bring in not only Elijah Mitchell, but Brashard Smith as well. I think the Chiefs are banking on Pacheco and the production decrease last year being that injury. I think they're counting on that, but I'm with you. He was the guy that I went with, so I'm gonna change it because I had two guys in mind. This is going to be a really hot take then because I think Pacheco was my number one, and not like 1A, 1B, maybe close second. We'll see, but it's a hot take. I'm going to go Trey Smith. And the reason I'm going Trey Smith is we can give our opinion and our reasons for any way, shape, or form, right? Counting stats, whatever. Here's my reason why Trey Smith regression. Because Juwan Taylor got a bunch of money. He was $20 million per year. And Trey Smith was the awesome 6th-round draft pick story of being one of the best guards in the NFL. Trey Smith is now a $23 million guard. And those holding penalties are going to be circled more than they have been in the past.
Yeah.
They've been overlooked because it wasn't Juwan Taylor, and he's a 6th-rounder. And look what they got from him. Like, good God, you're getting that from a 6th round. He's awesome. If he's one of, if not the highest-paid guards in the league, the penalties he had last year are going to be more frustrating. They're going to be highlighted and pointed out more because, dude, you can't miss that block and hold on a play that got 20 yards. You're making $21 million a year, dude. So maybe not play regression, but I think maybe overall view of fans towards his play could regress based on his money increasing the way that it's going to.
It's a great point. Last year, 0 sacks allowed, but 9 penalties, which ranked 126th out of 136 guards, where that's bad.
Yeah.
Now, you don't want to be that number.
Yeah.
If you had 0, you'd be 1. He had 126 out of 136 guards with 9 penalties.
Yeah, he had the hold in the Houston Texans game, which I thought was a bad call, but it was still, he put his arm across the face to try to work back in front of him. That was the long gain to Kelsey when he caught the ball and then weaved back and forth. And then later on that drive was the personal foul they called on the Texans, that when Mahomes ducked and went down and they called the unnecessary roughness that everybody was pissed off about, but people didn't care about the holding call that started that drive that took out a 20-yard gain and dropped you. They lost 30 yards on that. The Texans lost 15 yards on that call. The Chiefs lost 30 yards on the one earlier, but it was still a holding call on a pretty massive play to start a drive for the Chiefs that put them behind the 8 ball. They had to overcome that.
Remember, they were rooting for the other team, so those penalties don't count.
That's a good point.
We don't have to talk about
That's
them.
That's a very good point. Not a net 15-yard gain by the Texans on those 2 calls. Not at all. Who's your offensive regression?
It's actually funny. You've made great points for the guy that's next to mine, which is Juwan Taylor. Almost the exact same reasons was I think he's going to be spotlighted with all of his issues because we can get rid of him after this season with the contract.
And
so
if you have Simmons, and Moore, there might be you got to bench Taylor, put Moore over there, or Simmons, play him right now.
Yep,
Interesting.
absolutely. Yeah. Same thought process. I think that the fact that we have 2 tackles we picked up, plus the contract being able to walk away after the season, will spotlight all the issues, and people will kind of, if it's not already at a fever pitch, it'll get even higher.
Especially when Brett Veach says he's at the tail end of his contract.
Yeah.
Even though he's halfway through his contract.
Correct.
He's 66% of the way through his contract. Is he though? He's 66% of the way of the years that he's going to play for us.
Seems like you got a little calendar going.
It was a Brett Veach. He ain't playing for us longer.
It's a Gregorian calendar.
Yes, right.
It's Gregorian.
Chiefs signed him for 4 years. He's playing 3. Brett Veach, he's at the tail end of the contract we signed him for. So that's
it's the Mayan calendar that actually ended in 2012. This one actually ends in 2020.
I love it.
Into 2025, 26
yes,
season.
It's Y2K 25.
Yeah.
I don't know. Regression on the defensive side.
Yeah, this was hard for me.
I agree. This was a tough one to find.
There's a lot.
I feel like I was reaching for mine. I'll just say that.
There's a lot of guys that I thought are going to take a step forward defensively. I think like Charles Omenihu was a really good guy. I went back and forth between him and Christian Fulton as far as breakout year. But regression was more difficult. I don't like saying this one, but the reason why is because I think we saw a glimpse last year, and that was Drew Tranquill.
Oh, that was my B. I had a 1A and 1B.
That was my A.
Yeah,
it's a good one, actually.
Drew Tranquill is going to turn 30 in August.
Yep.
Last year, the first about 5-6 games of the year, brutal for Drew, and I was perplexed. I didn't know what was going on, and then he turned it around and actually had a real solid season overall. But I was wondering, is that just a case of he needed to get right? But we were talking all about training camp and OTAs and how he was grinding through it, and he was a warrior and all this stuff, and so maybe there was an injury we didn't know about, because let's be real, we don't know everything that goes on with these guys. But I wonder if that was the start of a decline for him. His coverage grade took a step back. I just thought even in general, I don't even know what his PFF, if it took a step back overall. I'll check right now.
I have to imagine it did.
It did take a step back. Everything took a step back last year, outside of his run defense, actually. Slight increase there, but it still wasn't good. But everything across the board took a step back for Drew last year. So to me, I'm thinking that's probably a precursor. They drafted Jeffrey Besa. That's your future, I think, in that role. I think Drew's going to have a solid year this year, but I think thinking of what he did his first year in Kansas City, which he was electric and he was a game changer, I think that might be behind him. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think we're looking more at a solid player versus an absolute chess piece back there.
Yeah, I'm with you. That was my second choice. Again, I feel like I was reaching on this one. I don't think there was an obvious candidate, because I don't know that it's like, well, Drew Tranquil, there's a cliff coming from him. I don't think that's the case. I think he could play the exact same way as he did last year, and it would be perfectly fine if you're getting Bossa and you're getting Chanel and Nick Bolton and that 4 linebacker crew.
Agreed.
My choice that I ultimately went with was Mike Dana. And the regression being, there's no scenario outside of injuries that he plays 60% of the snaps this year. Like, he played 60% of the defensive end snaps. Amenahue missed part of the season. FAU was not developing. Well, now Amenahue is on the team. Again, outside of injury. Amenahue, Karlaftis, you just drafted Ashton Gelati, and he's a 3-down defender. He's a guy that's a run stuffer. He can set the edge. That's the great thing about Mike Dana, is he'll set the edge, right? If you've got 3 guys there with Karlaftis and Amenahue and Ashton Gelati, are you going with Mike Dana, who, by the way, is in the last year of his contract, right? You can save $9 million by releasing him at the end of this year. And so are you going to be playing Dana more than Ashton Gelati if all things are equal, while you can continue to develop Gelati a higher end, and maybe at the end of the season you've got a better player rather than Mike Dana that you're probably going to release this offseason anyway? I just can't see 60% of the snaps. And while the counting numbers regress this year from what was 2023, I think those counting numbers are going to have to regress again, because I just don't see the playing time that would be there for Mike Dana.
Trade candidate? I don't know if a team would be interested in going after him.
End of training camp, you trade that guy.
You wouldn't cut him, obviously, because I think there's no reason. No, he's a good player.
He's one of your top 4 defensive ends.
Solid player. I just wonder if the Chiefs, because again, you're sitting here going, you're going to have trouble trying to find playing time for him, but also you want him as that backup just in case if FAU or Ashton Gelati look really raw
or gets hurt for a couple games.
It's tough, because I don't know what you'd get back from Mike Dana, but his contract's not crazy.
Yeah, you wouldn't get much back.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah,
Maybe
you might get a late, like a 7th round or something.
You might be looking at that 6th round
pitch.
That Uche,
could be a
Uche move,
a pick swap. You give your 7th rounder, you get their 7th
money
rounder.
ball
I think
trade.
more than that.
Hey, why we need new Coke machine?
I think you're looking like Joshua Uche. Was that a 6th rounder?
I don't know that you're getting a 6th rounder for. Maybe you will.
And maybe I'm wrong, but
maybe you will if Joshua Uche wasn't really
my
playing.
Point is,
and then
I think you
typically has to be a really good player to get a player or anything good in return, because once you already let it out that you're looking to trade someone, they all just wait till you release them.
Yeah. Again, I was searching. I'm not saying that that's going to be the case for Dana. That there wasn't an obvious one on the defensive side, because I see more breakout progression from a lot of the defensive players than like regression. Joshua Williams, well, I mean, he already regressed. Najee Johnson, well, I mean, regression from what? You know what I mean? Like, if we're looking at some of the players, like regression, I don't think Trent McDuffie is going to regress. I don't see Nick Bolton regressing. He's still in his prime, and if he's healthy, he's going to be fine. I don't think Karlaftis is regressing, because I think he's going to have more help in pass rush. Chris Jones is still Chris Jones, maybe the regression of age, but again, the numbers weren't there in total sacks last year, but I think he's still going to be fine.
I'll add one, actually, that I just thought of because of our breakout, Jaden Hicks. I guess you could say Brian Cook because of the fact that Jaden Hicks could overshadow him.
I thought about that too, but I thought, well, Brian Cook, didn't he already regress this last year from what we thought he was going to be because of
coming back from injury?
Yeah, he didn't look the post-ankle injury.
That's true.
He didn't look the same athletically last year that he did his rookie year. So I thought about that too, but I'm like, I don't know. Is Shamari Connor then going to force playing time away from him, or is Mike Edwards going to play well and then there's less time for Brian Cook? I don't know.
Matt Ariza, is he taking it?
Butker, who
you know
knows?
what? No, Ariza, not a step back, but we need to take a punt back. Instead
That's
of kicking it into the end zone, we want him to punt it onto
Technically,
the
that's the third phase of the game. There's three phases.
All three phases.
There's three
What are the three phases?
What are the three phases, Dylan?
Offense, defense, and special teams.
Oh,
Okay,
special teams is the third. Oh, okay.
correct, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, they're in phase 3 right now of OTAs, the Chiefs are.
They're in special teams phase.
All 3 phases, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 of OTAs. We'll hear from the Chiefs tomorrow. We'll hear from Mick Schaefer, going to join us at the end of the show at 1 o'clock hour, coming up here in just a little bit. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We've talked enough of the tushing and the pushing and stuff like that. Let's hear, we'll talk with Mick Schaefer in the next hour, but let's hear from Tony Dungy weighing in on the tushing of the pushing and the rule that will remain in the NFL.
Well, I felt like it was going to stay in place because it helps scoring and it's offensive play, and we tend to go for that. When I came into the league back in the early 70s or mid 70s, there was rules against assisting the runner. You could block for the runner. That's how you helped them. But you couldn't pull the runner. You couldn't push the runner. And now, for some reason, we seem to think that's okay. We have rules that regulate the defense, what they can and can't do. Defensive guys can't leap on top of people to block a PAT. You can't do certain things, but pushing the runner seems to be okay. And I just think it's not fair football. And I was disappointed, but I wasn't surprised.
So there you go. Tony Dungy doesn't like the tush push. It's not fair. Football should be more fair, should be more equitable. It's just not fair. It's not fair football. I understand what he's saying about, back in the day when he was coaching, you couldn't push, you couldn't pull, but now you can. They changed the rules. If your argument is to go back to that, I understand that argument, but
sure.
I can't get down with the it's not fair argument.
Yeah, it's
just not fair. Like, it should be more fair. Should be more fair, Rodney Harrison after that also had, I didn't cut it because whatever, I'll just paraphrase. It was a pretty crazy, absurd take saying that, people that I've talked to said that play is what galvanized the Eagles. Like, that's what made them a team, because it's unstoppable. You do it every single time, it's unstoppable. Like, except for the times they stopped it. Like, it is not I know it's like, it's unstoppable literally. Like, it's not literally unstoppable. I get the point when it's like it's unstoppable, but it actually is. It just seems unstoppable. But also, the tush push is not what brought the Eagles together to be a Super Bowl team. Hey, guys, this tush push, this is what's going to make us our team.
Yeah, they had the tush push in 2022. They had Saquon Barkley this year.
Yeah, that makes a little bit of a difference, And they weren't as successful this year when they didn't have Jason Kelce. They were also successful before the tush push with Jason Kelce.
Remember when I brought up the fact that they were the same percentage on success rate this year than they were with Carson Wentz doing normal QB sneaks?
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was the exact same. It was 87%. So what are we doing here? Like
I think
that's why I think they should have banned it. But that's kind of my point is, I don't hear anyone who's talking about the Carson Wentz QB sneak being banned.
They did ban the Carson Wentz QB sneak. They just banned him from playing as a quarterback.
Also, people don't understand the word literally. Like,
well, he didn't say literally.
No, but people do all the time. It's like, they literally ripped his head off. You're like, ew, man, whose head got ripped off?
Seems like that would be an offense that you would go to jail for. This guy wears his heart on his sleeve, literally. No, he doesn't, because that's dangerous. It also doesn't seem like it's anatomically possible.
It's not possible.
I've never seen somebody do that before.
I laughed so hard I peed my pants. And you're like, oh, you literally peed your pants? Literally, man. Well, then what did you do with the pants? People got to understand what literally and figuratively mean. We're literally having Mick Schaefer on.
We're going to a break figuratively. No, shoot. Wednesday edition of The Zone. Mick Schaefer with us for the final hour. Hi, Mick. Hey.
What's up, boys?
1 hour to go for you today. You got 1 hour.
First time I saw you this week, no big deal. Jack Johnson and I and Dylan held down the fort on Monday.
Yep, how was the
Apparently
fort?
Memorial Day is like Christmas. Nobody works around here. My God. I expected that from Sterling, not from you, okay?
I didn't even know we had a show.
I expected to work, and then I saw myself not on the schedule, and I go,
Really?
oh, nice.
If we had a show and I was on the schedule, that would have been really bad at about 10 o'clock for Dylan and everybody else.
Usually you don't have Memorial Day shows.
Not typically.
What about Labor Day? They're at the same level. Do you have Labor Day shows?
Well, Labor Day you're supposed to work because it's Labor Day. It's not non-Labor Day.
No, that's
Most
just when
people
women
have it off.
No, that's
when people have
that's when
kids.
women
It's
have
not Labor
kids.
Off Day.
Yeah,
it's Labor On Day.
when
women
people
have
have kids, yeah.
Yes, water breaks typically the night before.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Late night.
Yeah, you
And so I'm not-
procreate in December. You have kids in September.
Yeah, I'm not going to work when my wife is getting ready to have a child. Sorry, I'm not that dedicated. You know what I mean? Sorry, Sterling. I know that you're not aware of how it works. So there's the bird, and then there's bees. Okay,
so how
then
do
a
they
stork.
meet?
So a mommy and daddy fall in love, and they decide that they want to have kids.
Okay.
And then they kiss, and then after they kiss, a stork
Gross.
drops off a baby. So that's how they're born.
Sometimes the stork comes before they fall in love.
Sometimes
they don't fall in love at all.
Was that an accidental stork? Did the stork go to the wrong house?
It did.
Or, okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
You never know.
Sometimes
you
it's
have
great.
Amazon packages on your. That's not me, right?
Would you call that a happy accident, or is that more of a...
Usually not.
Okay.
Usually no.
It's like Amazonesia, is a thing. It's like kid amnesia for like the Cromarties. It's like, do I have 11?
I've never heard that.
Amazon.
It was one of my learns that
amazing.
I was going to use
I'll be
for
stealing
Monday.
that.
I was going to use that for Monday as Amazonesia. Did I order something? There's an Amazon. What did I get? What did I? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember ordering that now. Yeah, did I open it up? And
You have it, or your roommate has it?
No, the wife has it
Okay.
because every day I get home, there's a package on the porch. I'm like, what did you order it now? Well, I ordered it for the kids. Okay, it's not for me.
It's not real money. It just comes out of
Right, it's crazy.
on the
Like I
Amazon
just
card.
press order and it does that,
shows
and
up.
everything still looks.
Auto-pay is when you
I
put something
immediately
on auto-pay, like,
Yeah,
it's not real
not real
money.
money.
right.
Come on, it's
I
fake.
click order and it says when it's going to be here. I immediately go to my bank account and it's still the exact same. I immediately go to the online. It's the exact same. I don't know what's going on here. It's just all free. It's totally cool. So yeah, the Labor Day probably not. I don't know. We'll see. I don't remember if I worked last Labor Day or not. Anyway, Mick Schaefer
I
is
did.
working today,
Yeah.
and you worked on Memorial Day.
Grinder.
Grinding.
right.
away. I'm not working most of June. You won't see me much of June.
Are you heading
That's
to
the next month.
Are you heading to Lawrence tomorrow?
No.
You
You're
have a
not?
cough. That scares me.
Doesn't.
He's
Well-
got a frog in his throat.
I have a golf trip, and I don't want to get sick.
What? Oh my God! You got a trip
No
coming
way.
up?
Is there some bourbon on it? No way.
Are you
With the bros?
are you going to be with bros? You got a trip coming up? Oh, that's weird. First time you're doing this?
Bros,
Oh, he's getting closer to him now.
bourbon, beer, balls, golf balls.
Both for you and your guys. French lick. Larry Bird. Oh, you left out Bird. Could have gone with the B
Bird.
alliteration, Bird, because of French lick. So are you going to head to Lawrence tomorrow?
No. What
You're
for?
not- Mill Valley? Playing in the state...
Mill Valley's playing state softball in Lawrence too. Softball and baseball.
Oh,
No, covering
my apologies.
the chefs tomorrow. Be with the chef tones
you are
out
such
there.
a worker.
I know.
Gordon
My
Ramsay going to be
goodness.
there.
Yeah, he'll be there.
Great
All of them.
googly mogly. You are
The bear,
such a
everybody.
worker. You know, you are Mr.
Yeah.
Mill Valley, and
I
you're not going to be
mean,
there.
Listen,
It's not that far of a drive.
Somebody's gonna be there to put microphones in the faces of the Chiefs doing OTAs.
What if they win Thursday night? You heading there Friday?
I will be in the Gulf of America by Friday and Saturday.
Nice.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
Never mind.
The Gulf of Steve Martin.
Never mind then. Okay. Very good.
No, are you gonna be
Good
there?
to know. No, I won't.
Okay.
I was just wondering if you would be there. My son and kids don't go to a high school that's playing in it. I'm not Mr.
Your
whatever.
sons and kids don't go to a high school. Just period.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, that's true. They go to a K through 12, but technically, I guess they do go to a.
Do they go to a high school?
They do go to school with high schoolers. It's K through
I
12.
guess so. Yeah. Same building
absolutely.
and
Same
everything.
building.
Let us know if Travis
one-room
Kelce looks
schoolhouse.
good. Let us know what he looks
Yes,
like.
please.
No,
I want
I've
to know
heard
what his
he's
waistline
put
looks
a
like.
lot of weight on, according to some.
I heard he's
accounts.
lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, he's lost. a lot
Yes,
of
I
weight.
thought he's losing weight too.
Tell him to like lift his shirt up or
Wait,
something.
is he
Like,
gonna
hey,
be there?
can you give us a turn?
It's a great question. Who knows if he's
I
ever
don't
going to
think he
be there
was
or
there
not?
yesterday, right?
He may not even be there.
Yeah.
Who knows? He's
knows?
out. He's somewhere working out and losing weight. You know what I mean? Like you
Travis,
can't.
how many garage beers have you stopped drinking?
It's like the.
He'd probably be on your trip with you, with all the bros there, Sterling.
Well, we're healthy. We drink bourbon now because that's less calories than beer.
It's like the home makeover show. You know, you got to have
Actually,
a big
beer
reveal
was
for
one
Kelsey.
of your lists of B's.
There will be beer too.
Yeah.
You got to have a big reveal for Kelsey, so we won't see him until training camp, and he'll show up and like, ta-da!
Yeah.
Look at me. He's so svelte. Look at him. That man can wear a suit. Now he's wearing like a medium shirt and everything. Looks really good. He doesn't have the Dunlap going on with his belly when he
Yeah,
puts
he
his
still
jersey
looks good
on.
when he puts weight on. So
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
nice.
so
That's a nice
turns
thing.
out he's an NFL football player.
yeah. No, I'll be
So-
covering the chefs.
Okay,
Covering the
very good.
Chiefs.
Didn't
Little
know.
OTA action.
Did not
Patrick's
know.
going to talk.
That's
We
right.
talk haircut, talk schedule. I don't know. What else do we want to know from Patrick tomorrow?
I want to
Who
know.
is getting first reps at left guard?
No, that's dumb. No, you need to ask him. Are they going to be more concerted to try to throw the ball deep this year?
yeah, that's new.
I want to hear about. We didn't hear about it last offseason, so I want to hear about it this. If there's going to be more of an effort that you got to try to take the top off the defense, you know, just to keep them honest. You know what I mean? See if there's a carryover from the Super Bowl to this year. What they want to do. I want to hear about that. I really am curious of what they think about those things. I don't care about the guard
Run
and
out
all
of
that
questions. We don't have
Is
questions
Shamari
from Mahomes,
Connor
right?
going to play more in the slot, or is he moving more to safety?
He'll know
Yes.
that. He'll know that.
stuff. Yeah, that's a great question for Mahomes.
I didn't say for Patrick. It's meant for in general
Yeah.
for OTA. It's
okay.
just keep an eye out.
Okay.
Sorry for being serious.
That's fine.
I'll
Yeah.
joke more. That's on me.
Yeah, dummy.
Yeah.
Big stupid head. Let's hear from. This wasn't a joke. Terry Bradshaw went on the radio in Arkansas, because as one does,
Nothing else to do
103.7
there.
In Arkansas, the morning show. And the question is in here, but it's about Aaron Rodgers and maybe being a Pittsburgh Steeler. And Terry Bradshaw weighs in on his opinion if he wants Rodgers to be a Steeler or not.
What do you think about possibly Aaron Rodgers being the quarterback? That's a joke. He shouldn't. That is just to me is a joke. But what are you going to do? Bring him in for 1 year? Are you kidding me? I mean,
That's
that
not
guy
the
needs to-
Steelers' way, right?
No, man, that guy needs to stay in California and go,
Thank
go
you.
somewhere and,
Thank
and
you.
chew on bark and whisper to the gods out there.
100%. These guys on the show, Mr. Bradshaw, know I'm not a fan of his. We've
No,
been
yeah,
around
yeah.
each other
Nor am
personally,
I.
and he was not a kind person.
I had to go over and introduce myself to him. He's not. I had to go, hey, Aaron, I'm Terry Bradshaw. I know he knows me, but I just felt like I better tell him who I am. Yeah. And not, you walk in there and you get in his presence and you feel like it's going to start snowing. So. Oh, hold on. Roger, that was supposed to be something. There you go. Failure over his head. Dan Hampton, do you agree with that bad move that they go with Rodgers for the Steelers?
He is not a guy you would want for a neighbor, but here in Chicago, I watched him for 15 years make play after play to win football games. And from what I understand, Aaron Rodgers' agent is basically telling the league it's just a matter of time. Aaron's kind of cleaning up some personal matters. He is going to be a part of the Steelers. Now, whether you like it or not, to me, again,
I heard the same thing, Dan. I just don't want to
as
believe
a mercenary player, you could see him in Arizona or Tampa or something like that.
Well, I hope the first thing he cleans up is his damn attitude.
Damn attitude.
There you go. We crossed paths, and it's just.
You didn't have to tell me that was in Arkansas.
There's no bias there.
I wish you wouldn't have said.
By the way, Dan Hampton, Hall of Famer, played for the Bears for a long time, and Terry Bradshaw, Hall of Famer, played for the Bears for a long time.
I wish you wouldn't have said where that was. We had to guess what state. 'Cause
I would have
that would've
guessed
been funny.
Louisiana.
Yeah, I would have guessed further south with that
Arkansas
guy.
would have been a top 5
Mr.
guess, though.
Bradshaw,
Because
you
he
know.
played there. Right.
Yeah,
Louisiana Tech, was that it?
the Tech. He was the
And,
backup quarterback to Duck Dynasty, right?
I think it was
Or was Duck
vice
Dynasty
versa.
the backup quarterback?
He just passed away.
Terry Bradshaw.
Yesterday.
Oh,
Yeah,
I did
Rest
not know
in
that.
peace, Phil Robertson.
Oh, I had no
Wait,
idea.
did he actually play quarterback, that guy?
Yes,
Yeah,
he was the
backup at
to
I did
Terry
not know-
Bradshaw.
I did not know that.
That's right.
I learned. That's my learn.
Yeah, Kenny Mayne was a backup quarterback at UW. At
And at
University of Washington.
UNLV, right? Or no, it was in. He was backup to Warren Moon. Maybe it was in JUCO.
Might have been that, yeah. So Terry Bradshaw says that's a joke. He should stay in California, chew on bark, and whisper to the gods.
It's also rich coming from Terry Bradshaw.
Right?
True.
You know, like if that is where Aaron Rodgers ranks in Steelers fans' minds, then Terry is just right above him, so he's taking full advantage of it right now.
But also, you get in his presence and you feel like it's going to snow. I'm assuming that means he's cold, that it's a very cold interaction with Aaron Rodgers, that there's no sort of personality or life that goes along with it. It's just stone. You get in his presence and all of a sudden it's going to snow. It's so cold.
Why can't Terry Bradshaw do this on TV? Like, why can't this be the NFL?
I think he's probably got to be.
CBS
He's
is why.
got to be a little more guarded when he's on TV and
I was
talking
thinking
about players that are playing in
is
the
he going to get in
Shield.
trouble for throwing
he
that out
might.
there? But I mean, he's 79 years old or whatever.
Yeah. It's just like
I don't care.
We're all under the impression Rodgers is going to be a Steeler. And you've got the most famous Steeler quarterback that's already saying, this is a joke. This is dumb. Like, it would be if it's not the same sort of personality or craziness at times, but I'd wonder about a quarterback in Kansas City if they were getting ready to sign him as a veteran and Lynn Dawson was outspoken. It's like, this is a joke. This guy shouldn't be a part of the team. This is dumb. Get this guy out of here. I don't want him anywhere. Like, what would the reaction be if somebody that is that historical in the franchise was like, I want no part of this guy? But also, who cares if you don't want him to be your neighbor? Okay. Is he going to win a Super Bowl? I'm not living next to these guys. Guess what?
Yeah.
I'm not in their range of salary, so I'm probably not living next to them. I don't care if they want to be my neighbor. Like, can he win football games? You know, that's different. Like, there's a lot of people that are bad neighbors that can't help you win a football game. There's a lot of bad neighbors out there that can't win a football game.
Yeah, I think especially with those old school guys like Terry Bradshaw, a guy like Rodgers who's going to miss minicamp and OTAs and be on retreats and all that stuff and not be there in the off season, that's got to be part of this, rubbing them the wrong way and all
Back
that.
in my day stuff too. But also,
and then the 1 year mercenary, you're bringing them in for basically 17 games, and we kind of saw how that worked with the Jets. Didn't really work out. We've seen that with other quarterbacks, kind of riding into the sunset. Sunset rarely does it work out into championships, and I think there is something to be said for that's not the Steelers' way. Just look at how they handle head coaches, right? And so they want guys that want to be there. They want the volunteers, right? They don't want the hostages. And so there's probably a lot about Aaron Rodgers and just the signing of him that irks Terry.
Yeah, the mercenary guy that's there. Stephen St. John went to Omaha.
So did Matt Foster. 8-10 and 41. The only stations there.
851 combined.
You got it, I guess. Yeah.
no.
What is it?
What is it then, sir?
Yeah,
What is it?
What number are you thinking of? So they were in Omaha. Matt Foster,
on,
Stephen
Blue Valley
St. John,
North.
Bethany Bowman. In Omaha, 8-10 and 41. Combining their pairs.
851.
Nailed it. You got it right. I was wrong. You were right.
What did he say?
851.
Oh.
I'll reassess, though. I'll use the calculator next time. So you're not going to have a calculator when you grow up, so you're going to have to learn this right now. You can't just walk around with a calculator in your pocket. You're a liar, teacher.
I keep a TI 84 on me at all times.
You're so dumb.
You didn't just there.
No, you're so dumb.
You needed it.
You got to learn this because when you grow up, you won't have a
Batteries.
calculator in your pocket. I disagree. You're a liar. Here's Rusty Kuntz. Stephen St. John tracked down Rusty Kuntz and had a conversation with him. I cut out this clip that was just about Jack playing the outfield, since that's who is teaching him the transition, who helped Alex Gordon transition to an outfielder from a third baseman. Here's Rusty Kuntz on Jack Caglione in the outfield.
Even though he's so big, he's so athletic. You know, he moves around really, really well with a guy with a 17 size shoe, you know, and having him move around the outfield, not surprisingly good, but you just don't see a guy that size being able to move a body around the way he does, and which makes him very, very special for sure. But then he comes with, you know, that type of arm strength coming from the outfield, and he's just all of his parts, his 5 tools are, you know, some kind of special, and he brings that every single day. And the one thing that I will say about him, probably the separator for him. He loves to work. His work ethic and habits are just off the chart. So no matter where you put him, no matter what he does, he's going to be really, really good.
In your opinion, how close is he to being able to play outfield well enough for the major league level?
Well, we're going to find out. He played 2 or 3 times last week, and he's going to play 3 or 4 times this week. So we're going to get a better look at him as far as what he can and can't do on an everyday basis out there coming up shortly.
Not a big fan of I wanted more detail at the end there. Well, we'll see. Can he play out in the major? We're going to find out. Well, yes, we are. But it's like, you know what? For a guy that wears a size 17 shoe, he's an athlete. He's big, and he moves around out there, so that's good, at least hearing from Rusty Kuntz.
How many games has Hunter Renfroe started in right field for Kansas City this season? Yes.
Too many.
He can do a better job than Hunter Renfroe. I will put the mortgage on that one.
Because at least, as Rusty Kuntz said, he's got the arm. Yeah. But the arm that's there. And the work ethic is great to hear that from a coach. And, they don't have to offer that up. If they don't truly believe that. I don't think Rusty Kuntz is going to go, this guy won't freaking work. Well, the one thing I love about him is that he's just working, because that came – he wasn't asked, how hard of a worker is this Jack Hager? Oh, he's busting his butt. Like he won't – no.
Yeah, he'll just ignore it. They just won't broach it. He won't bring it up if there is a work ethic issue.
And that's where one of the things that I was listening to Breaking the Norm one of the Saturday mornings. Little man and I were driving, and it was his interview with Alex Gordon. And he asked Alex Gordon what he misses, and Alex Gordon said, well, what I miss is the day-to-day work. Like the day-to-day, just get to the ballpark. Of course, that's what Alex Gordon would say. It's like, no, I miss the day-to-day, just putting in before the game even starts, just out there, just taking the reps and going through all of that stuff. That's what I miss, is like that part of the game. Like, of course he would say he misses the work that's there. So Alex Gordon was famous for work ethic with the Royals, the sort of leader by example, not necessarily the rah-rah Eric Hosmer, follow me, I will lead the way and be everybody's champion. Alex Gordon was like, follow me because this is how you're supposed to do it. This is how you're supposed to be a professional. I don't know that Jack Caglione would have the work ethic, but Rusty Kuntz saw Alex Gordon transition from third base to outfield and had to put in the work. So, maybe Caglione is a guy that wants to be great and challenges himself to be great and is, putting in the work to be an outfielder. I have no idea what he looks like in the outfield. I was kind of annoyed he played first base when it was on TV last night.
Me too.
I was like, put him in the
also
outfield.
annoyed by the 0 for 5. Did he play on the road? Was he playing first base?
He played 3 of his 6 games in Salt Lake were in outfield.
In the outfield, okay.
Yeah, 2 games at first base, 1 at DH, 2 in right field, 1 in left. So not just it was his first game in left field was there in Salt Lake. All the other games in the outfield that he played at AA were in right. So they even threw him out in left field one of the games. So, they're obviously trying to get him 2 or 3 games a week in the outfield while also having him play first base, giving him a break and play DH from time to time. But I think that's an expedited time frame now. For him. I don't think he's supposed to be in AAA right now. If the Royals sat back and said, what do we think the timeline's going to be? I don't think May 28th would be his second week in AAA.
No, not at all. And we interviewed him yesterday. Matt asked him about, hey, do you expect things to go this quick? He's like, honestly, out of spring training, I was just hoping to be in AA. Hoping to be in AA. Well, you got that goal, buddy. Actually, maybe you didn't because you're not anymore.
Yeah, poor guy.
He's disappointed.
I just think like he was kind of talking more about process of like development and like I don't belong here yet. Let me take the next step and I'm gonna work my way up.
Yeah. And we'll see when that next step is.
It's a great mindset to have.
Maybe a couple weeks. Maybe it's June 24th.
Maybe it's June 24th. Or maybe it's day before June 25th.
Or maybe day after June 23rd.
One of those
really getting specific
3 options, yeah.
I think it could be that. Or it could be, I don't know, like tomorrow. You never could be Friday, against the Tigers.
Friday.
Could be. What if every single outfielder in the entire Royals organization except for Cags got injured?
Could be 27 days away from now.
That's it doesn't seem that far away. When you say it like that, like it's 27 days from
less
seeing
than
the guy.
4 weeks.
Seeing the guy who it would be before he was drafted last year.
Yeah.
He was drafted in July.
Runs do the Royals score in 27 days? 80 or more.
Less than
30,
100. Yeah.
30 of them.
To take it times 3, whatever it is, that 81?
It's 81, so I said 80 or less.
I'll go 85.
Okay.
You'll hit a spurt.
Get hot, baby.
They'll hit a spurt.
It was a 12-run game.
How many homers will the Royals hit compared to how many homers will Jack hit?
Who hits more homers, the Royals as a team over the next 27 days or Jack
Cags had to have had more over the past week.
Had to
guess.
have.
Yeah, he's got 5 himself.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Dude, he was drafted last year, July 14th. So he'll be in the
Is
big
the draft
leagues.
that late now?
Yeah, it's All-Star break now. He'll be in the big leagues less than a year
Should
from
be before
being drafted.
Before, yeah.
Should be. I would have guessed at the beginning of the season before spring training, I would have guessed, probably August you bring him up. That's your big trade bat, right? You don't have to trade prospects to get your big bat. It's Jack Caglione. But now it's like it would be a disappointment if he's not up before, a year anniversary of his draft pick.
I liked the tone of what Piccolo was saying the other day, and it was basically like, okay, let's get him to AAA, let him adjust to pitching. Let's see. Let's have him cool down. What does a regular week look like for him, right? What does a slump look like for him, right? And all that, and then he's like, we always like to bring guys up when the team's doing well. And so maybe, in that June 20th to June 27th range there, Jason,
right
the Royals can win like 5 of 7 or 6 of 8, something like that, and you can bring him up maybe 5 days after June 19th.
Maybe a few days after June 21st, something like that, or 4 days before the 28th would be something. It would be
ideal.
Feel like that would be an ideal spot. I think last night's 4th at bat for Cag specifically could be something that the Royals are looking at and saying, all right, this is where we would like to see some sort of an improvement here at the AAA level. His 4th at bat, runners at first and second, 2 outs. MJ Melendez on deck behind him. Who do I want to throw to? Jack Caglione or MJ Melendez? He saw 5 pitches. Only one of them was even touching the strike zone. The last 3 pitches were at his feet or in the dirt, and he swung at all 3 of them and then struck out. Like he took a ball, change up, 1-0, and then swing, and eventually striking out. Only one of those was an actual strike. Like it was an approach of, I'm not going to intentionally walk Jack Caglione, but I'm not going to give him anything to hit. And if he sits there and doesn't swing the bat, then I'm going to take on MJ Melendez with bases loaded. But I'm not going to let Jack Caglione beat me. But in that situation, he was so antsy to get the runs in that he was just swinging over the top of everything and swinging out of his shoes. And strike 3 was a ball in the dirt, on a changeup. Those are the at-bats where recognition of situation and where the pitches are and how they're probably trying to pitch you. And, you don't have to swing at everything, which is what we knew coming out of Florida. The guy swings it a lot. Like he's swinging at 64% of all the pitches at AAA right now. And last night he swung at 14 of the 21 pitches that were thrown his way. So that's 66%. So he raised it, last night. It's just what he's going to do because he's aggressive. And he makes contact with them as well, even though he had 3 strikeouts last night. But I think that 4th at bat there with first and second 2 outs in a close game, MJ Melendez on deck. That pitcher wanted nothing to do with Jack Caglione, and he got himself out.
He did. It was fun watching a game where the offense batted around 5 times.
Yes.
In 8 innings. They didn't bat the bottom of the ninth. As opposed to the Royals, it's a chore to get Bobby up a 4th time.
Can he hit for the cycle? He doesn't get 4 bats.
Yeah.
Of course he's not going to hit for the cycle. If it wasn't 45 days or 130 at-bats for rookie status, if it was just 130 at-bats, you could bring Jack Caglione up in mid-July, bat him 9th, and he may not get 130
That's
at-bats.
true.
I don't know.
Is that what it is now, 130?
It's 45 days or 130 at-bats.
Year?
Yeah, okay. And it's very specific. It is not plate appearances. So you walk 3 or 4 times a game, but it's also...
That would be awesome if you walked 3 or 4 times a game.
I know.
They'd probably make the Hall of Fame.
Right.
I'd take that.
Marty Brennan would not be happy. Big bad slugger on the team that's getting all this money to walk
Denny
to first
Matthews
base.
wouldn't be happy.
Yeah, this game's really slowed to a halt. Ding ding. Here comes rain delay Jack Caglione.
You would have a 750 on base though.
Like to see Caglione swing the bat, which would be a nice change for him. Ding ding. Pretty sure the guy that's 6'5", 270 might want to swing the barrel, the big lumber that's hanging on his shoulder. Ding ding. But I guess he's
hanging on his shoulder.
More excited about walking down to the bag. Ding, ding. I guess I'll go take a walk right now. All right, I'm done. I'm out. Rack 'em. I'm out at that point. Why was Rome in the broadcast booth with him?
Well, that's Sterling's regular voice.
That's a good Rome. Sterling, you gots to go. We'll do Rotten Tomatoes next. All right, heading up to 2 o'clock. The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels, Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 Sports Director. Let's play some Rotten Tomatoes here. Let's get into it. Who goes first this time? I think maybe
Jason.
me. I go first this time? Fantastic.
James Anderson.
James Anderson. See, that's not third person because that's not actually me, so I can say that. All right, Rotten Tomatoes. We give a movie, and then the other three fellas here have to guess, and whoever comes closest with what the critic score is and the fan score, and we keep score and tabs, and it's very important for bragging rights for us. And if you get it on the money, you get 2 points, and you can slap Sterling. Even if he gets it right, he has to slap himself. It's weird. It's
I love the new rule.
Game. It's an odd game.
I don't like this.
Yeah, we met before the show, Sterling, 5 o'clock in the morning. You weren't here, and decided that was the new rule for the game today. So my first movie, and I've got a theme today, with Friendship coming out with Paul Rudd, the movie Friendship, that Todd went and saw on Monday.
Oh, yeah.
Because he decided to not work on a Monday either. I'm going Paul Rudd movies. And so let's go with the first one. Clueless for Paul Rudd. We'll start with Sterling. Critics, Sterling, what do you go with?
You're not going to give me a background of Clueless?
Oh, sorry. My bad.
Wow.
Have
You
haven't seen
Have
that?
you not seen it?
No. Yeah.
Maybe I'm clueless about this.
That was good. I'm going to give you credit for that one, actually. That was well done. So here we go. In case people have not seen the movie, shallow, rich, and socially successful Cher, Alicia Silverstone, is at the top of her Beverly Hills High School's pecking scale. Seeing herself as a matchmaker, Cher first coaxes two teachers into dating each other. Emboldened by her success, she decides to give hopelessly klutzy new student Ty, Brittany Murphy, a makeover. When Ty becomes more popular than she is, Cher realizes that her disapproving ex-stepbrother, Paul Rudd, was right about how misguided she was and falls for him. Spoiler alert. Anyway, Sterling, critics.
84%.
84 for yeah.
78%.
78.
He wore a KU hat the entire movie. That's why Jason likes it so much.
Didn't even realize that.
Oh, I should have gone lower then.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I said 78.
I'll say 70. We 2 or 3 here.
It's 3. So 84, 78. 75. Do we have our first half point? Have you guys done it before? It's 81.
I think we did.
Yeah,
we
half point. Yeah, half
we've done
point.
it. Yeah.
So a half for Sterling and a half for Dylan.
Dylan,
if you'd have
congratulations.
if you'd have gone right in the middle at 81,
Yep.
you'd hit it right on the button.
That's
right,
where I thought you were going.
Right in the button.
Now I just
Right in the butt?
Right in the butt?
It's really
Whoa.
what?
What?
No.
No.
I thought we had the whole
I don't
whole bit.
remember.
Yeah.
I don't
I don't
remember.
It was
my
right in
part
the
of
butt,
it.
and you
Excuse
said,
me,
what?
Can somebody give me my line? I need my line again.
Jason goes,
What?
no, and then
No.
Dylan goes, this is the best.
This is
we
the
had this. We've done this
Yeah,
before.
well,
Yeah, so
forgot.
you go, what?
What?
Okay.
No.
All right, one more
This is
time.
the best.
Right in the butt.
What?
No.
This is the best.
See, we did it, guys. We can
job.
do a play.
All right, Dylan, you'll start with this one. What do the fans think of Clueless?
Fans, I'll go 88.
Ooh.
81.
85.
Mick, 76.
Oh, wow, lower.
Yeah, that was surprising. I think the fans are clueless about this whole thing. Sterling, we start with you.
All right.
All right.
Let me
Know
get
that movie.
into the... When North Korean ruler Kim Jong-il orchestrates a global terrorist plot, it's up to the heavily armed marionettes of the highly specialized
Let's go.
Team America unit
Great movie.
to stop his dastardly scheme.
Durka.
Yes. Yeah.
Matt Damon.
By the way,
My God, the acting on that man.
when Boston was eliminated, you know how they do the go fishing for TNT? Instead of using Matt Damon, they used the puppet from the
Team America.
next
Matt
to Ben Affleck,
Damon.
of course.
Great show, Gary.
Team America, World Police.
I think we've gone through all the quotes that are
my son's-
acceptable for
it's my son's favorite.
Yeah, I was
movie.
saying, there's not
There's a
many
lot
more.
It's easily my son's favorite movie.
Sure, you're a good dad.
Thank you. I think that's the beginning of the divorce proceedings. They just show that.
I'm gonna
So
go.
critics.
So I'm going critics here. I'm gonna go. I'll go 60%. I feel like that's a positive, but not over.
49%.
Yeah, I have no idea if this is the critics loved it because
I don't know how you can,
you know what?
high or low brow this movie as
Bleep
a
it.
critic.
65.
77%.
Yes.
No way.
Yes.
77.
Oh, my
Point
God.
Certified
me.
fresh, baby. Damn. Critics, they got it. They got this movie.
That's
Oh,
great.
man, that is great, man. They know ball.
They know.
Critics know ball.
Sometimes.
It should have been higher, but still.
Yeah. It's like great lovemaking scenes, Roadhouse, Team America, just some of the best that you'll ever
They
think
pulled out
of.
some moves in Team America. I didn't even know what moves.
Was it Hot Shots as well?
Sometimes you need Otis Redding in the background. Sometimes you don't need anything. Anyway, what about the fans? What say you, Mick?
The winner was 77, you said, for the last one?
Yeah.
God, the critics had 77. It's got to
yeah.
be north of 90.
I'll go 79%, actually.
I'll go.
Wait.
Oh, yeah, my
Jason,
bad.
I think.
Jason's.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was going to go third. That was like great.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
was just super eager to give my answer here.
I'm going to go. What'd you go?
79.
I'm going to go 74.
I'm going to go 85.
80%. Mick wins.
Close.
Nice job.
By the
Mick.
way, we did add a rule last week. You got to be within, was it 20 or 25%?
to get
To
a point?
win it.
To win it. So
When
that-
there's three,
if
I
there's
think that's, yeah.
20 or 25%. We're not, what number do we want to
I feel like
settle
it
on?
should be, when it's just three of us playing, it should be a greater, and then when there's four, it should be 20.
So
I say 20.
20% for
20%.
3,
to
That
win.
way, if someone's like it's 80, 85, it's like 32, you don't get a point because that's
Yeah.
just dumb.
That makes sense.
Or maybe,
'cause
yeah.
don't be
Okay,
dumb.
I'm done with
Don't think
I'm
it's
done with
85%.
All right,
30.
Mick, you got a point there. Congratulations, Team America.
Yay.
2 to 1
You
to
know
a
you're
half
Team
to a
America.
half. Dylan, your first movie.
My theme, I have a couple. The first one being the Phoenician Scheme. I'm sure I butchered that, but it
right.
releases on the 30th. It is a
Yeah,
Wes
Wes
Anderson
Anderson, yeah.
film. It seems like a more of a comedy as well, closer to this movie, which is my first one, The Royal Tenenbaums.
See the original right there.
The original.
This is my adopted daughter. That's me.
Yes.
Right?
It is you.
Critics.
So, Critics Royal Tenenbaums. I mean, that has to be like a critic type.
You would
like,
think it'd
comedy
be. I
movie.
mean, who knows?
I'll go 84.
You'll go 84. 89.
I have never seen said movie. I have no idea what it's even about. I'll go 81%.
Are you kidding me?
No, kid. Is he get it on the dot?
Yep.
Give me a
Oh,
break.
big movie guy.
Jason, I thought
know.
you were going lower with that. I thought you
Damn
were going
it.
to hit the 81.
I'm so stupid.
I got 2 points.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow, I know
81%
movies.
tomato meter.
I know ball.
You got 2 points because I said 84.
That
That's
is true.
the only reason.
I
That
was
is
going to go
true.
81 either way.
It is only because
Not
of
if I
Mick
said
Schaefer.
83.
It's only because
We've gone
of Mick
80 and
Schaefer.
still got 1 point, so congratulations. Sorry, I know ball.
Jason,
Oh, my God.
What did I go last
the
time?
fans. For the critics or the last popcorn you had? You're talking about critics
What
for
were
this
the
one?
critics?
The one you went was 89. The answer was 81.
Bleep it, 89.
Well, we don't even have to do the other two. Congratulations, Jason.
Nailed
Was
it.
it
for
89?
Jason.
It was
Yes, sir.
89.
Wow. This show knows ball. We're in the zone.
3 to 2 to 1/2, 1/2.
No,
All
no,
right.
no. I have 2.5.
You got one on the money?
Yes.
Just the last
Just
one.
the last one.
Oh, my bad, dude.
before
I
you.
apologize.
Seriously?
I didn't write it down.
Jason?
Why don't you keep score 2 then?
You know Sterling takes this seriously.
3 to 2.5 to 2 to a half.
Yep.
Mick's first movie.
I'm the half.
Memorial Day theme here, so I'm going to go with
Okay.
Stanley Kubrick's take on the Vietnam War Full Metal Jacket.
Oh, yeah.
man.
Wow. Okay.
Private Pile.
Private Pile. I will say that is
Tomato meter first.
91.
88.
Give me 85.
Yeah, Jason's going to win regardless. 90.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, dang it.
Wow.
Great movie.
So close. Now it is the fans. Sterling,
93%.
96%.
90.
You're winning regardless. 94.
94.
Man, you guys
Yeah.
close.
Wow.
We know Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah.
Apparently.
If it's a metal jacket and it's full. I don't know a half metal jacket, but I know a full one. All right. My second movie then. and we'll stay with the theme of Paul Rudd. We'll go with one that I believe he wrote, right? Ant-Man.
He wrote Ant-Man?
He is Ant-Man.
He is Ant-Man. You
Yeah,
can write your own Marvel movies?
Yeah, he's one of the credited screenwriters for Ant-Man. Ant-Man critics, we start with you, Sterling.
Oh, this is tough. I have also not seen this movie. I love Paul Rudd, but I think we've done all the movies I've ever seen. I don't know.
He's a fan of his entire collection except for 2 movies.
74%.
Ant-Man, Dylan.
I'm gonna go. I'll go 77%.
80.
83.
Damn.
Mick Schaefer.
Nice.
Mick Schaefer. Now we start with
Got
Dylan.
Michelle Pfeiffer, an all-timer, by the way.
Yeah.
All-timer.
Now we go to Dylan. What about the fans, Dylan?
95.
95.
I feel like any Marvel movie gets plus 90. It's the fans.
I didn't know that rule.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. I'm not a Marvel guy.
I just made it up.
88.
88.
Oh, son of a gun. 85.
You son of a gun. 85 is right.
God dang it. I'm just serving these up for you.
Way to go, Mick. As soon as you said 88, I'm like, he's going to go 85. He's going to go 85. He's going to go 80. He's not going to go 91.
He's got his calculator out. Just what's -3 each time?
That's why I have my TI-84 on me
What's
at all
-3?
time. I keep that thing on me.
5.5 to 4 to 3 to a half.
All right, 4.5, you said?
5.5.
5.5.
I've got 4. All right, Sterling, your second movie. You can't get any points this time.
I don't need any.
You get no pointsies.
All right. In 1939, newly created British intelligence agency MI6 recruits Cambridge mathematics alumnus Alan Turing to crack Nazi codes, including the Enigma. The Imitation Game. The Imitation Game. Loved this movie. I remember watching it on Christmas.
I've never seen Ant-Man or Clueless.
14.
Imitation Game.
I've never heard of this movie. Who's in it?
I was going to say, I haven't either.
2014, it came out Christmas Day. It's about cracking the Enigma,
who's
the
in it?
Nazi
Yeah,
code.
What's in it?
Yeah, let me look it up on Rotten Tomatoes.
Benedict
about it here.
Cumberbatch.
I already picked to the screen.
Benedict Cumberbatch, Keira Knightley, Alan Leach, Matthew Good, Roy Kinnear.
Okay.
Not a bad lineup.
Great movie. I love this movie.
I will go
Sterling loves it.
85% critic meter. Tomato meter.
75.
88.
Jason wins 90%.
Yeah.
Wow.
Man, I wish you'd have gone 87, Dylan.
Damn.
Yay.
90%.
Your turn, Mick.
Do I have any more than a half point?
You got a half.
Okay.
You're on the
I'll
board.
go,
You're on the board. You're like the Royals.
Yeah, there you go.
Everybody's scoring around you, but you've got a half.
More like the White Sox. Or
You've got a half.
I'll go 80. I'll go 80.
I'll go 89.
I'll go 77.
91.
Yes. Look at that.
Again, very good movie.
Thank you to your movie. Now
really
I've taken
good.
the lead. 6 to 5.5 to 3 to a half. Dylan's second movie. I got 4 points out there available.
In honor of the 100th Mission Impossible coming out.
Yeah, it's number 100.
I'm not a fan. I love Mission Impossible. That was double negative.
I'm not a fan.
Not a fan. I will go with his first ever movie, Taps, that Tom Cruise.
That was his first ever movie.
According to Rotten Tomatoes.
Not that, huh?
1981.
You got the critics.
All the Right Moves was right around there too.
I'm not familiar with
the
this
same
film.
year.
Yeah.
So Taps.
What's it about?
Playing
Water.
taps on the.
That's what I thought.
On
The
the trumpet.
No, water.
It's a war movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I will do 85%.
I'm gonna go 80.
Here comes an 88. He's gonna get on the dot.
77.
No, but he did win because it is a 68%.
Oh man. Okay.
From the tomato meter.
5.5 to 5 to 3 to a half.
Wait, I have 6.5 at least. I just got that point.
Oh yeah, it's 6.5 to 6.
And he's trying to shortchange.
No. We both got one last time. 6.5 to 6. You were up by a half regardless.
All right.
6.5 to 6. I said 5.5 to 5, but it's
Feels
6.5
like
to
cheating
6.
a little bit, but
Not
okay.
at all. 6.5 to 6 to 3. I'll say 73.
77.
Let me get this on the dot.
Yeah, you should. It would help if you did. Because you don't have any more points
Yeah,
available.
well, I need to get the last two on the dot. Let's go 80.
Jason, what'd you say?
73, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember.
If it was a 70, you won.
Yeah, 70.
I said 77.
Yeah.
Oh, he said 73 though, right?
Yeah, he
said
73.
Yeah. Yep. Jason
71?
wins.
All right.
67%.
Should've gone the
7
other way.
to 6.5 to
Should've gone
3.
the other way.
7 to 6.5.
It's gonna come down
2
to
points
this,
left.
fellas.
To Mick
I guess it's technically 4 points are left.
Another stick with a theme here. Saving Private Ryan. Okay. Have you seen that one, Sterling? Oh my
I saw
God.
the spoof.
Corporal Ryan is one that he's
Shaving.
Jeez Louise, stop it. What's this one about there, Mick? I don't remember.
Seriously?
No,
I kept, okay. Tom Hanks, Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
All right, so tomato meter, Jason.
I'll say 91.
Damn it.
That's
I'm gonna
Sterling's
go
up.
nine-
Sterling's up
sorry,
right now.
Sorry.
You're good.
88.
Excited to just give answers today. I'll go 94%.
Ding, 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 ding. You went the wrong way. I was like, you're going to set him up.
Did I maybe
Two.
have
You got
this in
two.
the past? Who
2
knows?
for
Oh,
Dylan.
did you? Nice.
Oh, 2 for Dylan. 2.5.
I don't remember what the scores were, but I remember
Yes,
one.
I
was
get to go
90.
last here. The final point up for grabs, and I get to go
And you're
last.
up by a
here.
half point?
And up by a half point. I get to go last.
All
Sterling,
right, popcorn
the fans,
meter.
unless he gets this right on the money.
This is
Oh.
huge. This is for a lot of marbles for
right.
for Ryan's
Yeah.
marbles.
Nope. Just pick a number. You know, really
Not
between
your favorite movie. the
between
other
1 and 100.
95%.
No,
Are we
bleeping
serious?
way. No
Damn it.
way.
Just stay in your seat, dude.
Oh,
Just
my
stay in your
gosh.
seat. Nobody else has gotten up ever when they've won or they've gotten any points.
Please tell me you're joking, and it's like
Nope.
90.
95%.
I was trying to remember
I
if it
knew
was
it too.
97
I
or
knew it too.
95.
I just felt it. I'm like, I guarantee you.
I might be
he's gonna come
Himothy.
up.
I might be Himothy. I don't know, man.
You got 8
Could
and a
be
half.
him.
I got 7. I'm right behind you. You
Congrats
lucky.
on second place.
Ugh.
That felt good.
So happy I went third there.
No one. Hey,
Turns out I didn't go third. I
a
didn't go
lot
at
of
all.
people are proud of you, but no one's more proud of you than you right now.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm very humble. Credit
I know,
to me
we get it.
for that.
We get it. All right. So there you go. 8.5 to 7 to 3 to 2.5. But you guys battled it out.
We did.
You know,
We were
you and
going
Dylan
for
really
the,
went.
Who buys lunch then?
Really went back
Trying
to
to
the last
escape the
judgment.
bear there at the bottom. Yeah.
I guess. You know what? I guess Sterling buys lunch. We'll take
Yeah,
a time out.
that's
We'll
right.
come back. More's on next. pumped that it's the Western Conference and not the Eastern Conference. Because, like, I work all day. So much work. And then I get home and I just want to relax and watch basketball. I just want to watch basketball. And then every other freaking time I get cutaways of Willy Wonka and freaking Fokker meeting his future in-laws, his fiance's parents, you know?
Ben Stiller?
Every other time, like I got to deal with Chalamet and Ben Stiller on my TV.
Dude, don't ever watch a Chiefs game.
I'm just so tired of them shoving Stiller and Chalamet down our throats. Every other cutaway is, oh, Chalamet's cheering. Ben Stiller high-fiving. Oh, cool. It's the night at the museum. Just so tired of it. I just want to watch my basketball. Instead of like, oh, Willy Wonka, my kids watched it. Oh, now my daughter's watching the game. Oh, my wife likes,
Wilder was
Meet
there?
the Fockers. Oh, hey, now my wife's watching the games because Ben Stiller and Timothy Chalamet. Oh, now they're, you know what? I don't want them watching the games with me. It's the man's side. Anyway, you guys feel the same?
The exact same.
I know, right?
He's
Thank
dating
God
one
I
of
got
the
the Chiefs.
Kardashian girls, right? Or one of the Jenners.
Jenners,
yeah.
It's a Jenner that he's dating.
The youngest Jenner?
Which
the
I thought
older
it
one?
odd that he shows up to watch all of her ex-boyfriends. But anyway.
Wait,
so-
she's dated a lot of the NBA
I have
players
no
too?
idea.
A lot
I'm
of the
just
Kardashians
I'm just
have, I know.
assuming. Like, I don't know. Jenner's Kardashians. Who knows? I mean, like,
This-
it's all,
this is
it's all in the
above
family.
my-
It's all in the family. It's all in the family. Anyway, thank God we don't have to see any celebrities tonight.
Did you know Bruce Jenner?
Was it
So you
amazing?
do
No way.
You do a Jim Abbott thing.
Yes.
You know, Bruce.
You actually know Caitlyn Jenner used to be. By the way, so Timothy Chalamet is like he's like a sex symbol. By the way, he's like a good-looking person. We've all agreed on because I don't know. I don't remember casting that vote. I'm like, he's this scrawny, little stupid, crappy little mustache.
So
dude,
So we've all come to the conclusion that he's a sex
like
symbol.
I don't remember like saying, yeah, I'm down with
He
that.
seems like a fine guy, but a lot of the
He's
things
fine.
he does feels like it's a bit. Like it feels like a poorly
Yeah.
acted bit.
He's like he's kind of like I'm trying to be too cool, Johnny Depp type.
Yeah,
guy.
it
I
feels
don't
like
know.
an off-brand Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
But it's not. But he seems like he knows ball. Like
I did like him. He was on. Was he on Game Day or something?
yeah,
like
Game
that?
Day, and he was like, I was like, oh wait,
yeah, he
he's
was really
actually
brought notes.
Yeah, I was annoyed by that because I just want to watch my college football game day.
I was
without
actually
having
impressed.
these-
Like
I
it
want to
just
watch
doesn't
Corso
feel-
in a helmet
without
Yeah.
these celebrities being shoved
not a
down my
helmet,
throat.
yeah.
Like I just
big old
it's so absurd.
big
head.
big
Yeah.
roll tide.
And
hat.
it is
Yes.
it is so obvious what the NBA is doing
Yeah.
by showing them.
That's
It's
right.
just
Trying to
so
get people to watch Dune 3 or whatever's next.
I just want to watch my basketball without all these celebrities.
Wait till I talk about the Chiefs games.
What do you mean?
Man,